Now, happy Thursday afternoon, and welcome into this February 8th edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero with you live from Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta, just about 20 minutes north of the capital city off of 150th Road and up 75 Highway. Spencer Dupuis back with us in the 580 WIBSW studios today. We are so excited to be back here with our friends from Prairie Band Sportsbook as we get ready for Super Bowl 58 coming up this weekend. Tons of fun promotions here, by the way, at the book for the big game coming up this weekend. A couple of different play for fun, free competitions and games you can play this weekend, including, you know that this one is going to be a hit, Dan. Swifty Bingo for the Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, with props all about Taylor Swift with a chance to win up to $250 in Prairie Cash. All sorts of fun promos to play on the Play for Fun website here at Prairie Band. And how about this? The big game, big bet opportunity. So any $10 bet you place here at Prairie Band Sportsbook on the big game on Sunday afternoon into the evening, all you have to do is turn in your name, your player card number, and there's going to be a drawing 4:30 the day of the big game on Sunday. You don't even have to be present for it, and you have a chance to win $100, $250, or $500 in free bets from here at Prairie Band Sportsbook. And again, all you have to do to enter it is place a $10 bet from now through the big game coming up on Sunday here at Prairie Band Sportsbook. So all sorts of fun promos for the big game coming up on Sunday. We're excited to be here throughout the duration of the show today. And in my hand, right here, in my right hand, showing it if you're watching on the YouTube stream right now, Dan can see it in my hand. Today's NCAA basketball daily odds. You know what that means? America East Thursday on the menu. And I will tell you this, I'm not just saying this because we're here and we're friends with the folks here at Prairie Band. I checked all the lines for the America East games last night, getting much better action here than I would have gotten elsewhere. A lot of favorable lines for yours truly. Fade Binghamton is back today. Vermont, we're going to ride with the Catamounts. We're going to be placing those bets coming up here in just a little bit. So come swing by Prairie Band Sportsbook. We are here throughout the show today, all the way up until 6 o'clock. Coming up on the program today, we've got a whole bunch to get to. We will talk a lot about Bill Barnwell's Super Bowl preview. He released it earlier today, something like 13,000 words and 20 pages of documents he put out. A couple of different really interesting things, though. We'll talk about the Chiefs' offense against the 49er defense coming up here in just a moment, including a comparison that Bill Barnwell made that I know piqued Dan's interest a little bit earlier on today. So we will talk about that. We'll talk about the quarterback matchup. We'll hear from Travis Kelce. We're going to hear from Andy Reid coming up. Some choice cuts from Patrick Mahomes in the 5 o'clock hour. And, of course, it's a Thursday. The Super Bowl is coming up this weekend, and we're talking to the voice of the Chiefs. Mitch Holthus is going to join us normal time, bottom of the 5 o'clock hour today. We are so excited to hear from Mitch as we get ready for the biggest game of the NFL season. We will also get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines. What is wrong with you? We've got the Big 12 breakdown with CJ Moore. We've got the high school sports whip around brought to you by Lewis Toyota with Rick Peterson. All of that and so much more coming up today on 580 Sports Talk. We would love for you to be a part of the show. As always, hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. And, of course, the YouTube stream. Head over to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, and that is where you'll be able to check us out. Hang out in the live stream today. Comment section is rolling here. We've got the TVs back behind me. If you're watching on the YouTube, we are here in the sports book at Prairie Band. It is such a cool place to come hang out, watch a game, place a few bets. We would love to see you guys come hang out with us today. Again, Dan and I are going to be here throughout the broadcast today. Yours truly anyway, at least up until the Washburn Coaches Show begins. So come hang out with us. We've got some giveaways as well at the counter right here at the Sportsbook. You can see it on the screen pointing to the left, but I'm pointing to my right. At the counter, we've got for the first 10 folks who during the show today come in and place a bet. It can be on anything. The big game coming up this weekend, America East Thursday tonight, some other college basketball, NHL, whatever it ends up being. First 10 to come in during the show, place a bet. We've got koozies and $25 of Prairie Cash for you. So come hang out with us and have some fun up at the Prairie Band Sportsbook this afternoon.
I'm already having fun. We got TVs all over the place. Just rang the bell on the NBA trade deadline, so there's obviously things going on there, trades that might, I don't know, swing a futures line one way or another. I know who I believe the favorites, the favorites to win the NBA are still my beloved Denver Nuggets, but or maybe it's the Boston Celtics, but Nuggets favored in the Western Conference at least. So there's that action going on. Unfortunately, no live golf. It's raining in Phoenix. And so play is suspended at the Waste Management, which is one of the most fun events of the year. They've got some futures golf lines that you can play here, some NASCAR futures, got Daytona coming up. So all kinds of great stuff. It's a great time to be a sports fan. Obviously, you got the big game on Sunday, but there's so much else happening. College basketball in the final month of the regular season, hitting the gas, that sprint to the finish. You've got the NBA heating up. You got the NHL back from the All-Star break. Golf is into full swing. It's just a great time to be a sports fan, a great time to be in a sports book.
Yep, absolutely awesome. I'm looking just to my left right here. We've got the full selection of all the daily odds for today. College basketball, NBA, NHL, pretty much anything you could want. Future, I see the NBA futures right there. Peaking Dan's interest just a moment ago. So come in, hang out with us, place a few bets. We've got some giveaways for you here at Prairie Band Sportsbook, just 20 minutes north of the capital city. Let's get into some of our Chiefs and 49ers preview that we were just alluding to, though, Dan. And the first thing I wanted to touch on today from Bill Barnwell's preview, and again, I recommend anyone, you've got to have ESPN Plus, ESPN Insider to go get this, but I recommend it. We know everyone's got it at this point, because if you want to watch Big 12 hoops or you want to watch Big 12 football, you got to have ESPN Plus. So head over to ESPN. Incredible write-up, incredibly detailed about everything going on with this Super Bowl. And the thing that stood out first to me that really jumped out is the headline that reads, "Can the 49ers overwhelm the Chiefs with sheer talent?" Because that's one of the storylines we've kind of danced around and tried to poke at all the different angles of over the course of the last couple of weeks, right? Is that the 49ers are their perceived advantage in this game is the scheme that's drawn up by their head coach and play caller, Kyle Shanahan, and then the fact that they probably have the most top-end talented roster in the NFL. When you look at the guys they have offensively, look at their top-tier guys defensively as well, even if the defense isn't quite as elite as maybe it was in Super Bowl 54 when these teams faced off. And the comparison that Barnwell made for the 49ers,
extremely offensive to me personally.
He compares them to the Legion of Boom era Seahawks. And while I can understand why that would be offensive, and one big reason why, that team won a Super Bowl, this team has not. But the point he's trying to make is that the Seahawks in the early to mid 2010s, they weren't doing anything that was going to try to fool you. You knew exactly what they were going to run. You knew what they were doing up front. You knew what Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and that linebacker core were doing, and you knew exactly what that cover three back end of the defense was going to look like. You knew going in. Nobody was shocked by what the Seahawks were able to do. But they had Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and Brandon Browner before Bobby Wagner, best linebacker in the NFL at the time. KJ Wright, I thought was one of the most underrated players in the league. Cliff Averill was awesome up front.
Michael Bennett, great player. Yeah, they had great players, great talent, elite talent at all three levels. Maybe not quite Hall of Fame talent at all three levels. I don't think any of those linemen are going to the Hall of Fame, but Bobby Wagner sure is. Yep. Richard Sherman sure is. Earl Thomas, it's complicated.
Talent-wise should.
Yes, sure. Absolutely. So you had that Hall of Fame level talent. And I understand that schematically, I understand the point Bill Barnwell is making here, that we're not changing what we do for anybody. We're not game planning for a certain team or a certain offense. This is what we do. And we do this because we know our guys are going to take care of their responsibilities on the field so effectively that we don't need to change to beat one team or another team. We're just going to line up and execute our defense because we have the guys who can cover all the ground, who aren't going to miss tackles. We can win with a four-man rush. We're just going to play our base defense. This is who we are. This is what we do. Beat us if you can, but good luck.
And the 49ers do it to an extreme degree. And I know you guys, when you spoke to Steven Ruiz last week, talked about how, the staticness of the 49ers defense, that they don't change a whole lot, that they really do run the same thing over and over. They disguised coverage the third fewest percentage of the time, the third lowest rate of any team in the entire NFL, along with a couple of bad defenses. Like they just run their stuff all the time. And what they have done over the course of the year is they just beat you with that. They just find a way to beat you to death because they know Nick Bosa is going to line up in the same spot every time, and he's going to win because he's Nick Bosa. Charvarius Ward is going to line up on the same side of the field every single time, and he's going to win because he is playing the best football of his career. Fred Warner, we all know what Fred Warner can do. He is going to beat you because he's the best linebacker in the entire NFL. They just do the same thing over and over. And while on one hand, you could spin that as, wow, they are so good, they don't need to change anything, it still works. I would spin it back the other way. That makes me feel almost more comfortable with the Chiefs' offensive matchup in this game. Because Andy Reid, of all the things you can say about Andy Reid and the success and how much of a genius he is with offenses and quarterbacks and maybe some of the foibles when it comes to clock management, bye weeks. How many times over Andy Reid's career, from when he first took over in Philly in 1999 all the way until now, when you've got a week to prepare, what does everyone say about Andy Reid? You're cooked. You have no chance because he is, 22-4 or something with an extra week to prepare?
Something absurd off a bye. Yeah, he's always been great off buys.
So you're telling me that the best game planner in the NFL, who is almost untouchable with extra time to prepare, who's got the best quarterback in the entire league and an offense that, while still fairly limited in terms of explosiveness, has started to hit its stride at the exact right time, you're telling me they're going up against a team that isn't going to change anything that you've seen on film all year long? That makes me feel even better about this Chiefs matchup.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's an interesting comparison to make, like I said, schematically with those Legion of Boom mid-2010 Seahawks teams. The biggest difference was the elite talent they had in the secondary took away the big play, but more importantly, it completely wiped out the middle of the field. Richard Sherman, Brandon Browner / Byron Maxwell, any other defensive backs knew we don't have to worry about the middle of the field. Cam Chancellor's got it, or Earl Thomas has the deep third, and the middle of the field's completely eliminated. And they had more guys, I feel like, who could win one-on-one matchups in the trenches right now than even the 49ers do. And that's not to say that the 49ers are not good up front, but by and large this year, other than Nick Bosa, they have struggled to generate that consistent pass rush. So when you're not generating consistent pass rush and you don't have the level of talent in the safety at the safety room or the safety position that completely wipes out the middle third or the deep third, then the offenses are going to be able to find some joy against you a little bit. And that's what we've seen so far in the playoffs with both the Packers and the 49ers able to move the ball. The other thing about being pretty static, about doing what you do. We talked about this yesterday at our Kadarius Toney fan club meeting, which you missed. But because the 49ers are so aggressive with their line, there's a part of their scheme is get upfield with your defensive line.
Yep.
Fly upfield, create negative plays, get the offense in 2nd and 12, get the offense in 3rd and 10. Then you've got guys like Bosa, Randy Gregory, Javon Kinlaw. Then you can start bringing some guys in, pin their ears back, and could be pretty good pass rushers, and can maybe win you some one-on-ones. Eric Armstead in the middle against Nick Allegretti might be a matchup that's not great for the Chiefs on those 3rd and longs. But when you fly upfield like that, what are you susceptible to? Those perimeter runs, those jet motion runs. The Chiefs annihilated the 49ers on those. We've been talking all week like Mecole Hardman only had 2 touchdowns in that Week 7 game last year. No, it was 3 on the same play. Mm-hmm. It was the same play. It was the same design. It was the same result. Defensive linemen 3 yards deep in the backfield as Mecole Hardman is getting ready to turn the corner with 4 blockers on 3 defenders to one side of the field. That's a touchdown every time. So I think the Chiefs are well equipped, particularly, again, with that extra week to prepare, to take advantage of what is, again, a pretty static defense, because I don't think the 49ers have quite the depth in pass rushing or the ability to win one-on-one as often as they're going to need to, and they haven't played at that level in the playoffs. Just to be completely honest about it, they haven't really played that well since Christmas. If you look at their game-over-game performance, they've been a pretty mediocre defense the last month and a half when they played against some really good teams, and they're coming up against another good one on Sunday.
And I think, Spencer, that's a good point that Dan just made there about not really having the pass rush depth, because you've got, Nick Bosa is obviously a stud. Eric Armstead maybe hasn't had his best season, but he's still a good player. Javon Hargrave was a good addition, and they paid him a lot of money to come across the country from Philadelphia to San Francisco. But Chase Young has been a low-energy bust for the most part since he was traded for. If you're going to replace him with Randy Gregory, go ahead, Spencer.
He reminds me of Albert Hainsworth a little bit when he got on the field in Washington, minus the falling down and not getting up part, just the effort part you see on the plays. Like when you watch him go through the rush and then maybe fall down and get back up and just kind of just jog, just go really attempting to, you never know what could happen. The guy could juke inside and you could be there right there for him if you're going toward the player, angling towards him. I've seen it on probably a dozen plays since he's been traded to the 49ers, where it just looks like after he goes through the rush where he is unsuccessful, he just gives up on the play.
So you've got that, and we all saw that terrible effort on the Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown from the
Yeah.
NFC Championship game. So if you replace Chase Young, you're giving the snaps then to Randy Gregory, which is about as unreliable of a piece as you could possibly ask for. Your backups on the interior, Javon Kinlaw, who I thought was going to be a good NFL player. He has been a total bust. Kevin Givens, I could not have given you that name if you gave me 500 tries. Like, that's what we're talking about with the depth on that 49ers defensive front. If you can neutralize them, Spencer, I really do feel like this offense is going to have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, and not to mention Eric Armstead. Although he'll probably play in the game, he's got a nagging ankle and foot injury. So if you can even limit in their interior defensive line at all, that will definitely help. But the only guy that I feel like I'm worried about on this defense at all is Fred Warner. Just what he can do. And I think Patrick Mahomes spoke on it this week. You have to know where he is at all times during the play. And it's going to be huge for Mahomes and the whole team to know, or the whole offense, where he is during any given play and try to shade away from where he is.
But if there's one guy, one position on the football field that I feel like you can beat an elite player, it's linebacker. Like, it's hard to scheme an elite defensive lineman out of a game. Chiefs have been successful doing that against Nick Bosa at times. Nick Bosa is going to get chipped to death on Sunday. He's gonna take a shoulder to the shoulder or a shoulder to the sternum from Isaiah Pacheco on every passing play. And if it's not Pacheco, it's gonna be Noah Gray. And if it's not Noah Gray, it's gonna be Blake Bell. It might even be Travis Kelce on some occasions, but he is going to get chipped to death on that one side. But it's hard to scheme those great players out of a game because they are so effective. They're closest players to the quarterback. They've got a chance to go beat a blocker one-on-one and make an impact. And defensive backs can be really impactful too. The way that they can cover, the way that they can maybe take away a first read or take away a part of the field. But when I think about elite linebackers, those Legion of Boom linebackers, they had Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, peak of their powers. And those guys were grasping at air in the fourth quarter of Super Bowl 49 when Tom Brady got rolling and Gronk got rolling and Julian Edelman got rolling because the Seahawks stopped getting pass pressure. Quick aside, I will never get over the fact that they took Cliff Averill out of that game when he was concussed, but Julian Edelman did not know what time it was, and the Patriots never checked him for a concussion and left him in the game, and he was the best player in the fourth quarter while Cliff Averill was on the bench, so they could double-team Michael Bennett, who was going to win the MVP of that game. I'm not over it. I'm sorry. Take it away.
All right, so the other point I was going to make, talking about so much from the front seven, I think on the back end, too, like, Charvarius Ward's playing on the left-hand side. He is a true left corner. He is not going to move from that half or that third of the field. And when you try to throw against him, normally it has not worked out for offenses this year. He's been great. He has been awesome, the former Kansas City Chief. You know who has been the opposite of that? You know who has been downright terrible in the postseason? Ambry Thomas. That dude was getting cooked against Green Bay. He was just as bad against Detroit. That's the guy you're matching up on the other side. So when you know, and again, you've got 2 weeks to prepare for this if you're the Chiefs. If you know, okay, over here on the left, I've got to deal with Charvarius Ward. Over here on the right, I've got to deal with a guy who is getting toasted by Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds and all these other dudes. That's the guy that I can choose where Rashee Rice lines up, or I can choose where I try to isolate Travis Kelce when I try to split him out. Is that guy? That seems to me like the 49ers would want to change up that approach, but that's just not what they do. And it's very similar to Detroit. And that's when we previewed the NFC Championship game, we talked about that. I said that I think picking the 49ers to win, that I think the Lions will keep it close, but I think they're going to fly too close to the sun. But it's what they do. Being super hyper aggressive, it is just what the Detroit Lions do. Same thing here with the 49ers. You would think, make sure Charvarius Ward is on Rashee Rice as much as possible, and you don't end up with wide receiver one guarded by like CB12 of this postseason and Ambry Thomas. But if the 49ers stick to the script, that's exactly what they're going to do.
And we know that the Chiefs are plenty capable of finding the matchup that is most suitable to them and attacking it and getting big plays, getting scoring plays against it. Who's the guy, Marcus, for the Eagles last year?
Epps.
Marcus Epps. Yeah, played for the Raiders this last year. Yeah, Marcus Epps. It was very obvious going into last year's Super Bowl that Marcus Epps was some food, right? You watched him on film. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce watched him on film going, I don't know what that guy's name is. I don't know what the back of his jersey says. All I know is He's food. And you know what he was on that first drive of the game when Travis Kelce scored his touchdown? Food. Beaten badly for a Chiefs touchdown. Ambry Thomas is going to have a highlight in not a good way. I would almost bet on it. I don't think you can bet on something quite that specific here at the Prairie Band Sports.
Maybe not quite that subjective.
Yeah, but no, I think the Chiefs are going to scheme ways to make sure their best guys are on the defensive liabilities for the 49ers, and Thomas certainly is one.
One other quick note before we get to a commercial break here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Barnwell also mentions in his piece that the 49ers don't change out of their base defense when opponents go into heavy personnel, which is one of the big reasons why we talked about earlier in this week. Teams that have run heavy personnel and have gone with more of that outside zone run game have found a lot of success. That, again, tells me get Blake Bell in there more. Get Noah Gray in there more. Put them in positions where they do not know what is coming, and you've got a reliable guy in Noah Gray who's not exactly a field stretcher, but you can trust him to catch a ball anywhere from 5 to 15 yards. Get him out there more. Put out a bulkier lineup because you're going to continue to be matched up with this smaller 49ers team. If Talanoa Hufanga is out there, maybe you feel a little bit differently. But guess what? He's not out there. And I think that is something that the Chiefs absolutely should be able to exploit.
And it's really important to note that the defensive downturn that the 49ers have experienced, it's not like they've been bad. They've just kind of been league average, really, in the last month and a half or so.
They have not hit a second gear like the Chiefs' offense has hit a second gear.
And it pretty neatly corresponds with losing Talanoa Hufanga. Like that's the kind of difference maker he is on that back end.
We are here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta throughout the entire show today. So come swing on by. We've got giveaways at the counter right over here to our side. First 10 folks who come in, place a bet during the afternoon today. Koozies, $25 in Prairie Cash. All you have to do, place a bet. That can be on anything. All sorts of promotions for the big game coming up on Sunday as well. We'd love to see you guys and come hang out with us here at Prairie Band Sportsbook throughout the show. We will take our first time out here on 580 Sports Talk today. We'll come on back, talk a little more Chiefs, and we'll hear from Travis Kelce later on this hour, right here on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk, live from Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis all joining you. Dan and I live from the Sportsbook will be here throughout the show today. Spencer holding things down for us back at the 580 studios on Huntoon Hill back home in the capital city. I've got a question from Vance, our resident NASCAR expert from the YouTube comments, asking the top 5 or the odds for the top 5 winners of the Daytona 500. I'm going to have to check it out. We've got the NASCAR odds over here to our left, though. I've got the college basketball ones in my hand right here. I'm telling you, right now, if you want to ride the hashtag Fade Binghamton train with me, jump on Albany, the Great Danes today. You can do so and get pretty dang good odds to come do so as well. Right up here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino. I'm excited. Did you cash out your winnings from the AFC Championship?
I have not done that yet. Believe I'm going to do that while we run Travis Kelce here in a bit. I'm going to get up and I want to make them run me my money after I did successfully.
How much did you make
pick
off
the Chiefs
of it?
to win? Redacted. I'm not trying to have somebody come here try to run my pockets after I
Is it
clean
enough
up my
to buy
winnings
us
here.
all 3 lunch tomorrow?
Redacted.
It might be turned right. The real way to do it is to then turn that into a little America East action.
How do you feel about the cravings menu, Spencer?
By the way, see, this is how wonderful this setup is. Jordan, who's part of our Alpha Media team, she right next to us was able to hand me the list of the top 5 potential winners for NASCAR for the Daytona 500 coming up in just a couple weeks. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, my guy, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, William Byron, Bubba Wallace. There you go. There's your top 5. I know you're a big Bubba Wallace guy.
Bubba can drive, man.
He's on MJ's team.
Yeah.
Team 23 or whatever it is.
Hey, Dan, look at the comment that Vance said.
Says just from YouTube, just say, Dan, you don't want Abby to know. No, I mean, there are I am not a unit shamer. No, like if you want to have fun with however much money it is, have fun with however much money it is. $10, $100. You got to play in moderation.
Yes,
we know the fine folks here at Prairie Band would advise everybody to do the same thing.
Yeah, precisely. Do not bet anything more than you are willing to lose. I adhere to that very rigidly.
Speaking of this, by the way, so did you see that leading up to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, the NFL has said players for the Chiefs, for the 49ers, certainly the coaching staffs, team personnel as well, no gambling. It is not allowed at anywhere on the Strip or anywhere else in Henderson, on Fremont Street, any of that. Can't do it. However, as soon as the game goes final, as soon as it is over, as they're sweeping up the confetti and all that, as Tom Pelissero put it, not quite fittingly, all bets are off, and you can go do whatever you want. Well, you can't gamble in the NFL, obviously. That's against the league's rules. But you want to go hit you don't want to take the team charter home. You want to go hit the Strip afterwards. You are more than welcome to do so.
So the coach and the MVP, the coach and the MVP from the winning team have to stay and do an 8:30 a.m. press conference the next day after the Super Bowl. Everybody else can go home, but I imagine whoever wins and maybe even whoever loses is going to say, all right, game's over. We have access to the Strip now. We're going to go hard.
So consider what Kyle Shanahan looked like at opening night on Monday, where everyone believed that he was just sloshed, right? Imagine him. Now, I don't think he's going to be doing that press conference on Monday morning, but imagine if he wins after the bender he's going to go on celebrating after finally overcoming all those demons and winning a Super Bowl.
I don't think the press conference will start at 8:30. I don't think it'll start at 9:30.
I mean, at that point, you just got to claim you're sick and you got to go home.
Even
right?
10:30 is a bit of a push. I'm sure the league would not be thrilled about it if they made you wait 2 hours for a press conference. But no, that's the one drawback of winning the game. If you're the MVP, you might be standing there with confetti falling. Man, I hope I don't have to be up at 8:30 for a press conference tomorrow. Man, give somebody else the car. I don't give a damn. Mahomes is like, I got 2 of these things already. I don't need a third.
Hey, Blaine Gabbert, you get over here for a second. Let me offer you something.
The kids are here. I'm trying to go crazy.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Coors Lights for the whole team, man.
The best part about the Super Bowl being in West Coast time, what time is it going to end? Like 8:30, 7:30?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like you got
Plenty of
all
time.
night long to party. Whereas if it ended if they were playing on the East Coast, you'd be well up into the morning. You probably might as well stay up all night at that point.
No, that's true. Like you're getting let's assume 3.5 hours for a Super Bowl, probably.
Yeah, maybe closer to 4 with a longer halftime.
So even so, I mean, you're getting done at 7:30. If you're the losing team, you're getting the hell out of there as fast as you possibly can. Even after the celebration for the winning team, I mean, how long are you at the stadium after that? You've got the trophy presentation. You're going to do the snow angels. You're going to smoke some cigars in the locker room.
Now, a lot of times teams will throw like private parties, and they'll invite like musical guests or whatever, and they'll do that at a spot. But I wonder if maybe because this is Vegas, things change a little bit. And I wonder how that's going to go. I mean, if you're Charvarius Ward, you've already hit it hard early this week, so you don't really have to do it again. You went hard Monday, Tuesday, and then you got down to business. So we'll see if that holds true.
Can you imagine if he has a terrible game?
Yeah, that if he doesn't play well, like if he gets cooked over the top by MVS for a touchdown.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that they're gonna play that. They're gonna play that interview clip for years, and not in a good way.
So the next few Super Bowls, we've got Allegiant Stadium in Vegas this year, in New Orleans next year, which is a party. Then they've got Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and then they go back to LA in 2027. After having Vegas, New Orleans, and then LA as 3 of the next 4, that is going to be a total dud for the teams who end up in Santa Clara, 45 minutes from anything else.
From anything at all.
They're going to have them staying out in Fresno or whatever, San Bernardino, as they get ready for that game. Man, why couldn't we go last year? Why couldn't we go next year? I would much rather have the LA flu than whatever I'm going to get in San Francisco.
Sort of like when the NBA does All-Star Weekend, and hey, man, some years All-Stars is in Vegas. All-Star was in Vegas one year. Some years it's in Dallas. Some years it's in Atlanta. This year it's Indianapolis.
Wasn't it last year or 2 years ago? It was Salt Lake City.
Yeah, it was Salt Lake City. I think it might have even been last year.
Look, I like Salt Lake City. I think it's an underrated city. You know what I don't do, though? Drink. So I'm not really sure I'm the right client.
I'm not sure where the get down is in Salt Lake City, particularly for the NBA's clientele.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to hear from Travis Kelce, someone who certainly knows how to throw a good party. He'll come up right after this here on 580 Sports Talk. I'm not sure anything says Super Bowl week more than getting some real big fish on the air. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis. Spencer, you a big ska guy?
No, not at all.
Apparently I'm the only one. Again, the only one of the crew.
I've been told I've been not cultured a few times in the last year and a half.
Listen, ska is more so like 1995 culture, so you're not.
This is true.
I'm
Yeah.
just behind the times, we're being totally honest. Brendan Dan Spencer here with you on 580 Sports Talk, live from Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. We are so excited to be here. So many fun promotions, big opportunities with the big game coming up on Sunday. And by the way, speaking of Super Bowl 58, Travis Kelce, we've heard from him a bunch this week. He got the main spot today. He was up at the podium in front of everybody, had the whole stage to himself. So let's hear what Travis Kelce had to say a little bit earlier on this afternoon from Vegas.
Travis, Nate Davis, USA Today. You've been on a lot of Andy Reid's teams. Some people have said this is maybe his best coaching job. Wondering if you agree with that and why, or if not, why not?
I mean, I've been here 13 years with him, and he's never got off track. This has been a constant incline of greatness, and I've been very fortunate to be under his kind of him overlooking my career, helping me out both on and off the field as a professional, as a human being, and it's just been I owe so much to him and his success and our success, and just extremely, extremely fortunate that I landed here in Kansas City 13 years ago to be able to build this thing with him like this.
Hey, Travis. Patrick's rookie season, you would give us some insight, what you were seeing in practice and how impressed you were. Just kind of curious, does he still wow you at practice, or do you think you've seen it all?
I think I'm more impressed by his professionalism every single day coming into the building, how fast he is with his reads, with his understanding of the play, the concepts, and his ability to channel the energy of practice and the focus of practice. Sometimes as a leader, you got to be able to, if everybody's having a little bit too much fun, rally the guys together, refocus them. If a team is having low energy, fire them up. Pat does an unbelievable job of being that tone setter every single day and every single week.
Hey, Trev, to your right. Rashid's become a big part of what you guys do, and it's abnormal for a rookie to have this much success in Andy's offense. When did you see it click for him, and just how proud of you of how far he's come along?
I saw it clicking as soon as he got there, man. He has a great feel for to get open in the middle of the field, a physical guy, a confident guy. So with all that, Coach Reid and the offensive coaching staff obviously have slowly given him the responsibility to make the plays and to be that guy for us. And he owned it, man. He owned it throughout the season, and it's just been awesome to see him grow.
Hey, Travis, Amy with the Los Angeles Times. The paper sent me here just to cover you and Taylor.
Okay.
Obviously, everyone is so captivated with your relationship. Some people have likened you to the American Royals because you're a football player. She's a pop star. Why do you think everyone's so fascinated with you two?
I think the values that we stand for, and just who we are as people. We love to shine light on others, shine light around the people that help and support us. And on top of that, I feel like we both have just a love for life.
Back here, Travis, Aaron Ladd, KSHB 41. Andy Reid's known for having a really tough, grueling training camp. How does that set the foundation for this long run that y'all are now coming to the end of?
Well, for a lot of guys, especially when it's your first time going through that training camp, you don't realize exactly why you're working so hard or why you're doing the long drive drills and just why Coach Reid has his camp the way it is. Until you get into those games where you need to take it up a notch. And you've already done it in practice a million times, and it just makes you appreciate it when you go back and try and do it all over again. It really makes you refocus and use that to your advantage while you're in St. Joe, Missouri, in the dog days, man.
Jordan Tucker, KLKC Radio. Travis, you have the accolades, the championships, even the newfound fame. What do you attribute your success to 13 years in the NFL?
I would say just my foundational, goals. I mean, who I am as a person. I attribute a lot of who I am and what I've done in life to the city that I'm from, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. The high school that I went to, the communities and the people in that community gave me a great perspective on what life is and how to appreciate everybody else and how to bring people along in life. And I think that that understanding growing up, I've just taken that with me, and I've wanted to, give that same way of life to other people.
Hey, Travis, over here. Vince Leverage with WWTV. Just obviously, you've been to so many different big games. how does those big games just kind of prepare you, and maybe just preparation wise for these guys who haven't been there? And what is that like? And obviously you have that burn to win another one. What is that like when you've had that experience and just to kind of know what to expect in those big moments?
It gets you fired up, man, and it makes you accept the challenges that you get presented in life. Going through a few of these Super Bowls, they're all, you can't plan any of them. You just got to be ready for the challenge and the task at hand to be able to overcome maybe some adversity, be able to finish off a football game the right way. There's certain things that you can't train for in the Super Bowl, and you just got to be able to understand that you got the guys around you to help you get you there, and you're not in that thing alone. It's just it's a fun experience, man, and a wild experience, but it's worth it all when you win it.
Hi, Trav. How are you?
Wonderful.
I have 2 very short questions. You want the football one first or the fun one first?
You can shoot them both.
All right, let's do the fun one first. I was wondering if you can help me complete this lyric here. Karma is the guy on the
Chiefs, of course.
finish it. Coming straight.
What's the second question?
The second question is, and good job, by the way, thank you. At what point do you start to associate the word dynasty with this team?
I think it's been thrown around a lot, and obviously it being our third in 5 years, I think the number 3 is a big number in terms of dynasties and things like that. So hopefully we can get this thing, and you guys can start talking about dynasties. I'm trying to get this 3rd ring though.
Hey, Travis, it's Aditi with CBS. If you would just confirm 2 things for me. One, Trent McDuffie said you are Andy Reid's favorite.
I'm the oldest tenure here, so I would assume I've built up enough favoritism for sure.
And the second one is that MVS said Patrick never gets mad at the receivers. He sends you instead to be the bad cop.
Yeah, I'll play bad cop. It's all right. I give the same energy to myself when I drop a pass or I screw up in a route. That's funny Quez said that, though.
Can you take us inside the room? What is the team's mindset? You guys quiet? You start to get more intent? Or is it just like a regular game week?
It's chaos, man. It's a lot of fun, a lot of energy at practices. Everybody's focused and dialed in on their job at hand. And I'm not even going to lie, things got a little chippy. I'm not going to say between who, but the offense and defensive lines are trying to get their work in. They're trying to make sure everybody's ready for the game. And I mean, it just got me fired up yesterday, seeing everybody locked in and wanting to get their work in, making sure that everybody's ready for the task at hand on Sunday. And I just love the focus and the energy of the team right now.
Hey, Travis, Todd Lebo, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. Coach Reid is a model of consistency. He hasn't changed a whole lot that we see on a daily basis. In your time with him, have you seen him change in anything that he does preparation-wise, anything off the field, anything?
Like I said, man, Coach, he hasn't really changed much throughout the 13 years. I think he does a great job of channeling the focus and the energy and the challenges, presenting those challenges to the team every single week. And we're just so fortunate to have the big guy here and at the helm, man.
Hi, Travis. Skylar with People. The connection you have with Patrick Mahomes on the field is undeniable. Can you please talk about the communication that you 2 have on the field? Do you even have to use words anymore, or is it just instinct, or as some would say, even telepathic between the 2 of you?
I think there's just been a lot of work that's gone in. So there's some things that don't need to be said, but at the same time, there's little bits of communication that can assure you and make sure that we're both on the same page at times. But everything that we do on the field is play specific and really depending on what coverages and things that the other team's playing. So. With that being said, it really just depends on the scenario, and I've just been fortunate to be able to grow in this offense with the big guy.
Hey, Travis, still on your right. There are obvious parallels between you guys and the Patriots from the last 20 years, the quarterback-tight end combo. If you win, you'll be the first team to go back-to-back since the Patriots. If you win, it'll be 3 in 5 years like the Patriots. Have they been kind of a motivating factor for you guys? Have they been a carrot?
They set the standard of dominance in the NFL, and I was a part of that and felt that dominance. 2015, I think, when I lost to him, and then again in 2017, I believe, or 18. And it was just, seeing what those guys are all all about, And I think one of the funnest things this year that I've been able to kind of dive into is Games with Names with Julian Edelman, his podcast, and how he brings some of those expatriates on to talk what he calls war stories and fun stories between him and the guys throughout their Patriot years. And I'll tell you what, man, I dive into those things and get every bit of nugget of gold that I can, man. Just and obviously it's entertaining stuff knowing Julian's the one telling the stories.
Obviously, as you know, there's a lot of attention and buzz over your personal life. Is that a distraction for you? How do you process all of that while staying focused and performing as well as you do on the field?
I love this game, man. I love coming into work. I got a lot of desire to be accountable for the ones next to me. I think everybody has distractions or things in their lives that can take away from their focus in their work life, and you just got to be able to compartmentalize that. It's no different. I know it's it might be on a national media scale, so it seems like it's a lot harder, but in the reality of things, man, when I step in those doors or I step on that field, I'm focused on championship football and being a Kansas City Chief.
Hi, Travis. Smart from Spain. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
So most likely NFL will announce that Spain will host in a game in 2025, a regular season game.
Nice. Hey, that's awesome.
After your experience playing in Germany, what do you think about the possibility of playing in Spain, and what are the challenges of facing a game like that?
It would be epic. It'd be legendary. It'd be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, man. I'm going to go and talk to Clark Hunt right now and getting that bid in. That would be any chance that we can get as football players, as American football players, to get out of the States, play international. I think you'd be silly not to jump at that opportunity. I had an amazing time in Germany this year. I've been to Mexico City. I've been to London. And the fan bases are every bit of electric, if not more, outside of the United States. And we just appreciate all the fans tuning in every single week. And if the Chiefs get out there in Spain, baby, we'll make sure to have some fun.
You and Kittle give back to the league tremendously during the offseason with tight end you. How important is that to you?
It's something that's become more and more special to me as the years have gone on. And I'm excited to get around the guys. It's just the tight end room is a very unique room. It's a lot of unselfish guys that come together that are just willing to do whatever the team needs them to do. So when you get everybody in the same building, and typically we all have a lot of high energy and a lot of fun doing what we do. So it's just the atmosphere is almost like you're at an all-star game or at a Pro Bowl or at a Super Bowl, because it's just everybody's excited to be around each other. And then on top of that, just trying to spread the knowledge and help anybody excel their game and take the nuggets of gold when you can.
You got great reviews for your appearance on Saturday Night Live. So my question is,
I don't know about great, but thank you.
Have you taken any meetings in Hollywood, and do you think you're best suited for comedy, drama, or action hero type roles?
Man, I'm comedy all the way. I don't know if I'm anything else. I just like to have a fun time and make people laugh. I'll dabble into everything though, just to see if I have fun doing it. And I know there's definitely Hollywood talks out there, but I've been focused on football throughout the season, so I'll probably have a lot of those meetings and conversations when it's all said and done.
That is Travis Kelce speaking earlier on this afternoon from Las Vegas as we get ready for Super Bowl 58. I appreciate that we've gotten to hear a lot from Travis Kelce. He always is he's obviously got a media future ahead of him, and he does the podcast and all that, but I've always enjoyed listening to his press conferences. I feel like he's always got at least something interesting to say.
Yeah, he's an insightful guy when it comes to the game. Obviously has a great deal of passion for playing it and a great deal of passion for being a great teammate. I think you can learn a lot if you're a young player about what it means to be a great teammate listening to Travis Kelce. And as for the other stuff, Spencer and I were talking about this yesterday. If there's anyone who's uniquely equipped to handle being in the maelstrom, not just of the Super Bowl week, but also having your love life be such a public topic, it's probably the guy who, when he was a much younger player, did a reality show based on his dating life. This is nothing new to him, and it feels like he enjoys this, and he's embracing it and knows it's not going to last forever, and just appears to be having a really fun time with it. And I think that's a refreshing attitude, and it's an attitude that I would rather have my players taking that into the game than anything else.
I can't wait to get a re-up of catching Kelce with just Taylor Swift. It's just like hanging out with them in Overland Park. That does it for the 2 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Don't forget to come hang out with us up at the Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. We are here throughout the show today. Awesome place to come watch a game. 10 TVs on the walls. It's right next to one of the restaurants here at Prairie Band, so it smells delicious. We're sitting right next to these big, comfortable chairs where you can just sit back, have a drink, check out all the daily odds, put some action down on a game, and watch sports all day long. How could you possibly beat that? So we are up at Prairie Band Sportsbook, just off 150th Road, up 75 Highway here in Mayetta. Coming up in the 3 o'clock hour, more previews for Super Bowl 58, plus Rick Peterson will join us here on 580 Sports Talk.
Welcome back to the second hour here of 580 Sports Talk, as we got some technical difficulties as the guys are down at Prairie Band Sportsbook as they get reconnected here. But we will continue this hour to talk Chiefs and 49ers. Our next topic, we'll get Dan and Brendan's takes on, is it just as simple as Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes in this game? Looking at their career splits and whatnot, and then later on in the hour to be either or, over, under. I don't know about Brendan and Dan, but I do have a pretty interesting one when it comes to Travis Kelce and what he's been able to do when it comes to targets in the postseason and his average, and in the 3 Super Bowls, what his targets have been. So we'll get into that later on this hour, and then we'll wrap up this hour being joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for our Lewis Toyota High School whip around. And should be an interesting hour here as we try to get things reset up from them back up at Prairie Band Sportsbook. You can head out there and bet before the Super Bowl this Sunday. Obviously, Chiefs are continue. I don't know what the line is there. I don't think they've said it. But on most sports books, the Chiefs are 1.5 point underdogs in the contest. It'll be interesting to see what everything is when you look at Prairie Band. I don't have the numbers with me, obviously, but they can get in. They can give you that information once we get to it, or once they get to it, and as we're waiting to be rejoined by them. Let's get into some Chiefs topics here. Obviously, we just heard from Travis Kelce, and the problem is about Super Bowl week is you're going to get so many mixed questions. They kind of hit on it. We kind of hit on it before we hit the break, but he's a guy that can take that. It seems like a lot of guys wouldn't be able to do that, as I think we might be joined by them now. I did hear something click over. But Travis Kelce is obviously a guy that can take both, and definitely has some curveballs thrown his way, but I anticipate he was ready for those. Funniest part about that presser today was they tried to, one of their celeb reporters tried to get him to fill, as you just heard, fill in Karma is the guy on the Chiefs and then continue it. But unfortunately, he just said on the Chiefs, and that was it. But Travis Kelce, obviously a great personality. Later on in the show, we'll play back the audio from Andy Reid's press conference, and then perhaps later on in the show, before we're joined by Mitch Holthus at around 5:30, we'll play some little clips of some player audio. So as Brennan mentioned, Kelce got the main stage treatment today. Mahomes got the side stage treatment. So we can't play those full interviews because they don't mic the reporters, and it's extremely hard to hear what they're saying because of all the background noise. We mentioned that yesterday, but we'll get some, hopefully we'll have time to get to some clips from Mahomes, as well as Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton later on, I'll tease this really here. He's talked about what Deebo Samuel brings and what, as a defender, you have to do to know the things that he can do on the field. Let's go backwards now. 4:30-ish, we'll be joined by CJ Moore of The Athletic for the Big 12 breakdown. And then a new edition of What Is Wrong With You? Is something going to be able to dethrone Grand Theft Amish? We'll see that later on today. But Andy Reid, play that audio at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, as the guys are still trying to figure things out down there at up there at Prairie Band Sportsbook, as unfortunately haven't figured things out yet. But this topic here that we have for the hour, we'll step aside for our first break of the hour, so then later on we can try and give you more in depth from that. So we'll take this hour's first break. We'll be back for more on the other side of this break here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW.
Back on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis with you. We are live from Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta throughout the show today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and thanks for sitting through the technical difficulties with us. Spencer throwing us the life preserver there, but we are good to go, all locked and loaded and ready for this 3 o'clock hour here on 580 Sports Talk from the Sportsbook. I've been thinking about it so much throughout the day. Did want to remind you guys about some huge opportunities, some really fun opportunities for the big game coming up this Sunday. That includes a handful of free-to-play, play-for-fun website promotions that Prairie Band is running. You can find those free-to-play online at the Prairie Band website. How about Swifty Bingo? Taylor Swift props for the big game. You could win up to $250 in Prairie Cash through that, and plenty of other fun promos as well. Again, that is through the Prairie Band Play for Fun website. Additionally, the big game big bet opportunity giveaway competition that they are running here at the Sportsbook. So from now until 4:30 on Sunday, right before the start of the big game, any $10 bet throughout this week until then qualifies. All you have to do, turn in your name, your player card number, and then you've got a chance to win $100 in free bets, $250 in free bets, or a grand prize. How about $500 in free bets as part of the big game, big bet competition? Just $10 on any big game bet coming up on Sunday, and you've got a chance to win, and you can place that free bet anytime between Sunday and the next 30 days after that. So all that and a whole lot more, tons of fun promotions, awesome place to come watch a game, hang out with your friends, have a drink, whatever it might be, here at Prairie Band and at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. By the way, I don't know if you saw this on the drive up today. If you were looking, would have been out, what would that be? West? So driving north, looking out to the west. Did you see who's coming up here in the next couple of months playing a show at Prairie Band?
Talking about BTO?
BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive is going to be here.
Hell
that
yeah.
Rules. That is awesome.
With respect to the great Bachman Turner Overdrive, I only can ever think of Homer Simpson at a BTO concert. Get to the working overtime part.
So good. So many
Play
great
taking care of business.
So many great shows they have up here at Prairie Band, and of course the brand new Sportsbook. It's been open for just under a month now. We were here on opening day. We're here again today. We'll be back as March Madness approaches next month as well. So we're really looking forward to spending some more time up here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Earlier on in the show today, we were talking a little bit about Bill Barnwell's Super Bowl preview. And I mean, it's unbelievable, and definitely recommend you guys go and check this out. But there's a section that he has in here about the quarterback matchup. And we know that the smart football fan knows it's not truly Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy, because they're not on the field at the same time. They're, in fact, never on the field at the same time. But that's how we talk about football. That's how we talk about quarterbacks. And that's how quarterbacks and their greatness and their career success is judged. It's on championships. It's on moments more than anything, and winning in the big moments, and winning when the chips are down and you've got to come up with the big play. So for right or for wrong, this game is Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy. All the narratives that come with the best quarterback in the NFL, all he's accomplished, the fact that with the worst receiver core in his career, he was able to help lead this team to a Super Bowl again, along with the Chiefs' awesome defense, versus Brock Purdy, who was, Mr. Irrelevant, and he was the third-string quarterback going into last season. All of a sudden emerges due to all those injuries, plays out of his mind, has a big year statistically and in terms of wins this year, but 90% of people, maybe a little bit less than that, but tons of people believe he's just a product of having Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and all these, Jawan Jennings, who's had a really good year, all of these pieces around him, Trent Williams as his left tackle. Does it get to a point, though, where we talk about it's like a bell curve, essentially? You see this meme online all the time, where it's at the beginning like, oh, this is just Mahomes versus Purdy. That's like the idiots. Then the majority of people say, no, it's all about this and that and this and all these other matchups. And then on the back end of the curve, the truly intelligent folks say, no, this is about Mahomes versus Purdy. Like, are we at that point? Like, are we on the back end of that where maybe it really simply is who is going to be the better quarterback in this game is going to determine the winner?
I can't stop coming back to that being the biggest part of the equation of this game, that one team in this game has the best player in football playing as well as he ever has, and the other team has Brock Purdy. And I don't think that Brock Purdy sucks. Okay, like that's the binary, right? You're either the GOAT or you suck. Like there's the binary. There's no gray area in between the two anymore. So either you're goated with the sauce or you suck. And so
don't ever say that again.
Sorry. Brock Purdy, quirked up white boy, confirmed. I'm sorry. We are way too online. I swear to God. So I don't think Brock Purdy's bad. I don't think that Brock Purdy sucks. I don't think that he's a system quarterback. And any of those pejoratives you would use to refer to Purdy, I don't believe those things about him. I think he's pretty good. And I think that if he were not, the 49ers would not be here. I think that he has helped them unlock even more ceiling to their offense because he is willing to take chances as a quarterback. He's always been willing to take those chances as a quarterback, going back to Iowa State. Now, we know what happens when those chances don't come off. We've seen those. We've seen what that looks like. And I think for a lot of us who watch a lot of Big 12 football, cover the Big 12, that perception of Brock Purdy, the guy who would make not just the mistake, but the hilarious mistake, has sort of colored our perception of who he is and what he can be, maybe a little bit more unfairly than somebody who maybe wasn't familiar with his time with the Cyclones. But Brock Purdy's got a lot more gunslinger in him than people give him credit for. The willingness to take the chance, the willingness to get out and run, use your legs, the willingness to throw the ball down the field as a play is breaking down. And sometimes that comes off. And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it shouldn't come off, and then it hits the defensive back in the helmet, and Brandon Ayuk makes the catch for a 51-yard gain and a 1st and goal. So there is certainly some truth to the idea that Brock Purdy is living a charmed life at times this season, that he hasn't, other than notably their game against Baltimore in the regular season, hasn't had that game where he's just turned it over a bunch and been the reason his team didn't win. But he's not Patrick Mahomes. Right? Like, it's great that Brock Purdy has raised the ceiling for the 49ers and that he is capable of making plays and that he is more dangerous with his legs than you might think. But he's not Patrick Mahomes. Nope. And I think where this is most obvious, Bill Barnwell laid this out in his column today, Brock Purdy's numbers when he is facing top 10 defenses. These are still objectively good numbers that he has against top 10 defenses in his career. But they are not quite the numbers he has put up against bottom 22 defenses in his career. And they are far enough removed from his performances against those bottom-ranked defenses to be notable. For example, his first down rate on plays, best in football the last 2 seasons. He hasn't started all those games, obviously. He took over with a month left in the regular season last year. But this season and last, he's got the best first down rate per play in the league, 41.4% first down rate. Against non-top 10 defenses, it's 44.1%, which would, again, comfortably be the best in the league. But it drops to 36% when he faces the best defense in the league. That's a pretty substantial decline. There's also a substantial decline in his QBR, 74.5 out of 100 on that scale against bottom 22 defenses, just 54.2 against top 10 defenses, middle of the road. The league as a whole declines from top 10 to not top 10 defenses. The league as a whole, quarterbacks in the league as a whole, decline by 3.6 points on average. When you're playing a bad defense to when you're playing a good one. The decline is 3.6 points of QBR. For Brock Purdy, the decline is 20.3 points of QBR. So it is not as though
good.
No, it's not. It is not as though he is not a bad quarterback against top 10 defenses, but not just a different quarterback, a decidedly different quarterback against top 10 defense. You know what else changes? His sack rate. 5.1% of his dropbacks end in sacks against lesser defenses. Against top 10 defenses, that number goes up to 8.2%. When Purdy plays top-level competition, holds onto the ball longer, makes more mistakes, puts more balls in danger, doesn't convert drives into first downs, series of plays into first downs as often, and the decline is noticeable. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have that kind of decline against top 10 defenses. The fact that Brock Purdy does and that he's about to face a top 10 defense in the Super Bowl, makes me feel like this quarterback matchup is indeed the mismatch I've kind of felt like it might be.
We have an interesting comment here on YouTube. This is from Ryan, who says, this is the new Brett Favre, Brock Purdy, versus the guy everyone thought was going to be Brett Favre in Patrick Mahomes. And I don't really hate that. Now, Brock Purdy.
That's really interesting.
He is not, like, Brett Favre's one of the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah,
Being a
Favre's got
dirtbag,
like a
yeah.
Favre obviously terrible guy, but you talk about like a top 5 arm talent in the history of the game.
Who was confident. Every time he dropped back, he was confident, how I'm going to throw this ball as hard as I can, and it is going to go right to the right spot. And it wasn't always right, but he was confident it was going to work out. And I think Purdy is in a similar mold. And we talked about this earlier on in the postseason, I believe it was, that I don't think it's fair to compare him just to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Brock Purdy, and specifically when he gets to whatever his peak is, will be a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the anticipation is way better than Jimmy has ever had in his career. And he's also a whole lot more mobile, both in the pocket and outside of the pocket. That, in and of itself, raises the floor a whole lot from what Jimmy G is and was. However, there are still those moments where he either panics a little bit, and we've seen that. We've seen that in these playoffs. We saw it against Green Bay multiple times. Packers just couldn't take advantage of it. Maybe not quite as often in that game against Detroit. But there are still moments where he thinks he knows what's coming, doesn't, freaks out, and throws the ball into danger. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have those moments. Patrick Mahomes also has confidence that ball is always going to get to the right spot, but he doesn't take those risks. He is always more – how many times in his entire career have we said, wow, that was an unpoised play by Patrick Mahomes? Like, never.
Yeah.
A couple times, maybe.
Yeah. Not once in this postseason. I can tell you that right now.
In the most important time of the year, that just does not end up happening. Like the Bengals game in 21 season when the Bengals beat the Chiefs. Like, that's the only half of football I can think of as in whole playoff career where that has been the case.
Where we saw Patrick Mahomes actually rattled by what a defense was showing him, what was available to him, and what he couldn't do or couldn't manage to find against it. Yeah, that's the one example.
So I think, to me, then, Spencer, this difference is not you've got two quarterbacks who can make the throws because they can. Now, Mahomes can make all of them. Purdy can make some of them. But you've got quarterbacks who are confident, who have arms, who have good anticipation, who you know can go make a play for you. But the biggest difference is the likelihood that they make the wrong play for you, that they make that big fatal mistake. For Purdy, the odds of that, relatively speaking, given this quarterback matchup, are fairly high. Patrick Mahomes just doesn't do that.
Yeah, and I think, too, it goes back to how they played to end the regular season and how they played throughout the playoffs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, the last few games, his QB rating was down to 83.6 versus the Dolphins because he got a 56.1 completion percentage. Brock Purdy went below 96 times this year, and 3 of the last 4 games that he played in, he was below 90. So I think it goes to talk about, obviously when you talk about Mahomes, it was after that game against the Raiders on the 25th on Christmas where he kind of started to lock in. But for Purdy, he's just been kind of up and down all season. And it doesn't seem like he's been consistent throughout each game. Besides, there was a 3-week stretch against the starting in December against the Eagles, Seahawks, and Cardinals, where he was very high with QBR. I just think as consistent as they were in the season in that month of December, he hasn't been the 2 playoff games. Obviously that can change, but if you're going to go look based off stats, we know that Patrick Mahomes has been locked in since after that Christmas game, where that was kind of their low for the season because of where they were going out. After that game, it was basically known they weren't going to get a bye. They weren't going to get that number 1 spot. So they kind of turned it on, and it goes back to the thing where do the Chiefs teams just get bored during the season and then turn it on in the playoffs? But for Mahomes, we know what we're going to get. You know what you're going to get game in and game out from Patrick Mahomes. Brock Purdy, there's still such a small sample size right now for him.
Well, you gave those examples, Spencer, of the 3 defenses where he kind of got cooking against the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. Do you know what those defenses have in common, Spencer, by chance?
They're all not great.
Yes, they all stink. They all are stinky bad.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they're all birds.
They are all birds.
I mean, that too, yeah.
Maybe he just Annihilates bird teams. Maybe he hates birds.
This man hates birds.
Well, those birds aren't real guys. No, those defenses all stink. Those defenses were all bottom tier defenses in the league, particularly the Eagles down the stretch, the way that they played. So that's more data point emphasis that Brock Purdy and this 49er offense are really, really good against bad defenses. And you're supposed to be. Like, that's doing what you're supposed to do against the bottom tier defenses in the league. But Purdy's play against better defenses has lagged. And now he's about to see the best defense he's seen since they played Baltimore in, was that week 16 or 17? Forget which it was. Because it was
16, I think.
No, I think it was 17 because it was Monday night. Well, it was a Monday night game.
You talking about for Brock Purdy? That would
We're
be
about to
week
look up for you.
17.
Yeah, week 17. It was.
Because
Week
they played the
17 against
Commanders
Baltimore.
week 18.
And that's a defense, Mike McDonald's defense for Baltimore. What do they do that the Chiefs kind of have in common with them? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. They like to disguise what they do. They like to take away your first read. They like to make you uncomfortable. And Brock Purdy, he's a little more willing to move when you take him off his first read. He's not like Tua Tagovailoa is an example of a quarterback who's not really mobile. So you take him off his first read, he's going right to that check down. Like you take him out of what he is schemed to do, trained to do, and there's not really a good plan B for him and for the Dolphins. Purdy's legs are much more of a viable plan B. We saw him win games with his scrambling ability earlier on in this postseason. It's not, he's not Michael Vick. He's not Lamar Jackson. I don't even think he's Patrick Mahomes, frankly, as a scrambler or somebody who moves about the pocket, but he's capable. And that's
serviceable.
Yes, and that's an option that he has and that the 49ers have. But the Ravens proved that if you can make him uncomfortable when he drops back, change up the looks, get pressure, and make him doubt what it is that he's seeing, he will make mistakes. He threw 4 picks in that game.
There are a number of things that we see, whether it's on TV, we see a story in a newspaper, we see or hear a radio, take about it. This is very hot take TV kind of stuff that has really occurred over the last few years where someone tries to put down or make a comparison against or to Patrick Mahomes that is just so made up and fake that it makes you believe, oh, yes, the Chiefs are going to win this game no matter what. Like, there have been those with Josh Allen, like, well, Patrick Mahomes is really good, but, like, best pure thrower in the NFL. Okay, the Chiefs are going to win this game. Like, if you say dumb stuff like that, the Chiefs are going to win. I've got the latest example of this for you from Dieter Kurtenbach, who is a...
Oh, gosh, him?
Yeah, he's still in the game.
Haven't thought about that name in years.
How about this column? Patrick Mahomes is Superman, but Brock Purdy has a superpower that can win the Super Bowl. The subhead? Brock Purdy's ability to process the game on and off the field gives the Niners an advantage in any game they play. So are you trying to tell me that Patrick Mahomes, the guy who can make every single throw from every single angle, is probably the greatest quarterback of all time already, certainly is going to be in the conversation when it is all said and done, can't process the game just as well, both on the field and watching film? Is that the point you're trying to make to me? And I read through this because I wanted to make sure that it's just not a terrible headline. No, the whole premise is flawed. Like, stop with this. This is why, and I don't even like Nick Wright, but this is why people like Nick Wright are able to have the Mahomes is actually underrated take or whatever, because people try so hard to come up with these other explanations. Like, you can give me a reason you think someone else is going to win a game, or you think it's a bad defensive matchup for what the Chiefs' offensive strengths are, or you know what, Mahomes has played really well for a few weeks, but there's this flaw, he's been a little off with his accuracy. That's why I think he's going to struggle in this game. When you start suddenly giving me, oh, yeah, Brock Purdy processes the game better than anybody else is your reason why you think the Niners are going to win, give me a break.
Yeah, that is utter insanity to suggest that Brock Purdy processes things better than Patrick Mahomes. So, like, Brock Purdy does process things pretty well. Like, again, when you start to argue against stuff like this, it makes it seem like you're saying, actually, Brock Purdy sucks. Like, you have to take the extreme opposite tack on every take. No, I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I think if I were ranking the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, I would have Purdy toward the bottom of that list, but I'd have him in the top 10 pretty comfortably. I'm probably 7th, 8th, 9th right now. I got no problem with saying
solidly above the Dalton line.
Yes, I think he's good, and they can absolutely win on Sunday. And then the conversations that people in bad faith are going to have about, well, Patrick Mahomes is 2-2 in Super Bowls. He just lost to Mr. Irrelevant. How great is he? Not my GOAT, and all that nonsense. I almost said a different word there. Almost came out of my mouth.
Now we've got to go back to the middle part of the bell curve, though. Because
Right.
no, he did not lose to Brock Purdy. He lost to Steve Wilkes and the 49er defense.
Also, Tom Brady lost 3 Super Bowls to Eli Manning, and Nick Foles. Sometimes it just happens, man. Like, the best quarterback doesn't always win this game. If you go back and just look at quarterback rating, just plain old boring quarterback rating, in 3 of the last 7 Super Bowls, so almost half of the last 7 Super Bowls, the quarterback that had the better game statistically did not win. Joe Burrow outplayed Matthew Stafford in that Super Bowl, Rams-Bengals. Didn't win the game. Tom Brady outplayed Nick Foles. He threw 500 yards in that Super Bowl. Didn't win the game. Matt Ryan outplayed Tom Brady the year before that. The Falcons, rather famously, did not win that game. So it would be entirely possible for Mahomes to go out and play brilliantly and still lose because, I don't know, MVS fumbled, or they weren't good in the red zone and the 49ers were, or Christian McCaffrey ran for 200 yards and the Chiefs just didn't have an answer for him. Does that mean, oh, well, Brock Purdy's better than Patrick Mahomes? No, we don't have to do this. But what we can do is say that if you are evaluating this game and you just want a simple explanation for why it could be that the Chiefs, who have been underdogs all week, and I saw that line tick up today at FanDuel to 2.5. Line's gone up in some Vegas books to 2.5. It is 2 here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. I want to note that it is still 2 points here if you want the Chiefs +2, or if you want the money line at +107. You can get it here at Prairie Band Sportsbook.
I sure would. I'm just going to tell you right now, I sure would.
They've got the better quarterback, and they've got the quarterback who is the least likely to make the negative play that could swing the game against his team. That is not in doubt.
And the other thing, too, just to this point about this column, and I shouldn't get so worked up about something that I know is clearly just trying to fill space and fill time before this Super Bowl. It has been like this since 2018. It was, because remember, at first it was, well, I mean, there's a lot of arm talent here, but you just drafted a guy when Alex Smith is playing the best football of his career. Then in 2018, it was, okay, yeah, but let's see him do it against a real team. Then it was, oh, well, it's just a product of Andy Reid. And then it's, oh, well, he lost on the big stage in the AFC Championship game. And it's been all of that after the Bengals beat the Chiefs in the 21 AFC Championship game. And you know how big of a fan of Joe Burrow I am, but it was, I think, this same argument. Like, well, Mahomes is the physical gifts, but, Burrow's smart.
He's got the intangibles.
Which is, I mean, I'm not even going to get into what that sounds like. But, like, Burrow's great. He is. But nobody is better than 15. Nobody is. And until we see proof of it, it's what we talked about with Tiger Woods a few weeks ago. It's what we have talked about before with the era where Mike Trout was the greatest player in baseball. Like, you can give me that one Christian Yelich season. You can give me Mookie Betts has had a great career. Those guys had great seasons. Mike Trout has been at the top of the mountain for years. Burrow has had great seasons. Allen had a great year. Lamar Jackson is going to be a 2-time MVP. Be very funny if he won 2 MVPs in 2 years when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, by the way. Brock Purdy has been really good this year, but none of those guys are at the mountaintop like Mahomes is. And until someone is, it's time to just be honest with ourselves that it is a fact. It is a proof. It's like proving a triangle in high school geometry. Like, Mahomes is the best. It is settled. It is a known at this point. That is settled. And let's be honest with ourselves about that, because it's going to make actually discussing these games a whole lot more interesting rather than, oh, well, Purdy can process it better. Give me a break.
Well, he's the best quarterback in this matchup, Mahomes is, and the 2 previous times that has not been debatable, the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl. It's not debatable this time either.
Coming up on the other side of this timeout, we'll be joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.News for the High School Whip Around, brought to you by Lewis Toyota. Don't forget to come visit us up here at Prairie Band Sportsbook, though, in Mayetta at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Stop on by. We have some giveaways for the first 10 folks who come on through. In fact, we might be down to the very end, if not out of those giveaways now. So if you want a chance, we're just 20 minutes north of the capital city. Come hang out with us just off of 75 Highway. Great place to come watch a game, get some action in. Got America East Thursday tonight. I'm going to go place my bets for that coming up here in just a few moments. Also, of course, if you want to go get some plus money for the Chiefs on the money line right now, you can absolutely do that. All here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook at Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Rick Peterson joins us next on 580 Sports Talk.
We are pleased to be joined on the phone by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.News for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk. Man they call Pistol joins us every Thursday at this time as we talk about the latest high school sports happenings in Shawnee County. And if you want to read all about those happenings, you know the place to go is TopSports.News. Rick Peterson joins us on the phone. And Pistol, it's getting down to the month of February, and things start happening really, really fast this time of year, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I'm actually just getting ready to go into the Centennial League swimming and diving meet, and then we're getting down to the nitty gritty in all sports. And yeah, I as you know, I'm not a big fan of February, but I do like when we get to the postseason, and we're getting to that point.
Yes, we are, and we're getting to the postseason in some other sports, and we're going to get to those in a minute. But I want to start by talking a little basketball, and the game we had Tuesday night. We had the contests on Tuesday night here on our Lewis Toyota Tuesday Night Hoops with Shawnee Heights taking on Topeka West, and it was a sweep for Shawnee Heights in those United Kansas Conference games. But the boys' game was very surprising in that it got to a mercy clock. It was a dominant performance by Shawnee Heights in that game, incredibly impressive. And this Shawnee Heights team now winners of 12 of their last 13. How much of a postseason threat do you think Ken Darting's team is?
Well, it's a cliche, but not for Ken Darting. Defense wins championships. And that game really surprised me because I know how good West can be. And they had 19 points at the end of the third quarter. That's just crazy. And obviously I talked to Ken Darting after the game, and he was just giddy about how his team is playing defense right now. So if they can hold their own offense with the way they're playing defense, I certainly think it can be a postseason threat.
difficult night, as you mentioned, for Topeka West on the flip side, but they had come in hot as well, winners of 6 of their previous 7 before they lost that game. What does Rick Bloomquist's team need to do to rebound? Is this just one of those nights, or are they going to maybe have some difficulty down the stretch?
Well, I think they're young, and Rick and I talk about that a lot. They're young, so they are going to have their ups and downs. But when they're on the same page and they're hitting threes and all that, get out and run a little bit and dunk a little bit, I think they're very good. They just got to prove they can beat the really good teams. And they've got a couple of losses to Heights. I think they got a couple of losses to DeSoto. They had a game where they scored 30 against DeSoto. So I tell you what, I wouldn't have wanted to be at practice at Topeka West the last couple of days, because I'm sure Rick is really in their ear and trying to get them ready for that stretch run.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.News joining us for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk. Another result from Tuesday that stood out, the Hayden girls falling to Emporia, 44-32. Emporia scored an astonishing 29 points before Hayden scored at all. And I think that says a lot more about that Emporia team being maybe one of the best in 5A. It was the third time those two teams have played this year. Hayden won the first meeting, but Emporia has gotten the next 2. What must Hayden do to bounce back from that game against a really good 5A club?
Well, you just forget about that thing. We know Hayden's good. We know they can score. We know they're not going to go any game where they get down 29-7. So I think Carvel just gets them back in the gym and gets them ready to go. And they don't have any time to rest because, Washburn Rural is going to come in with a little something to prove after Hayden handled them pretty good the first time they played. So Hayden just has to forget about it and go back to what's worked for him all year.
Yeah, Hayden Washburn Rural's a big game on Friday night, no doubt about that. Both girls and boys, because the Hayden boys starving for a win, dying for one, and would love to get one against the Washburn Rural team that's been playing much better. First meeting of the season was all Washburn Rural. They dominated that game. Hayden wasn't whole injury-wise. They were missing some key players, and Washburn Rural was just getting healthy at that point. Now that both teams seem to be a little bit more whole, how do you evaluate that boys matchup coming up Friday night at the House of Blues, as we like to call it?
Well, I think that the Washburn Rural has to be the favorite. They played Compton City tough the other night, and a third quarter kind of killed them on that game, their chances in that game. But they're playing much better. But Hayden's going to have a night sometime. If they're going to come out, and Ridley's going to be hitting threes, and Comack's going to be hitting threes, and Paddy's going to be hitting threes, and when they do that, they're going to be able to play with anybody. They're undersized, and they're just kind of searching right now. But I still think, hey, I still think they have a very good chance to make the 3A state tournament. Call me crazy, Dan, but I do believe that.
Now, I won't call you crazy, Pistol. I know you've seen enough to know and have a feel, and I trust your gut as much as I trust anybody. He's Rick Peterson at TopSports.News joining us here for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. Hayden Washburn Rural girls. Hayden, as you mentioned, scored the upset win the first time around. Rural's girls have struggled a bit here of late, but picked up a couple of good wins earlier this week. They beat Manhattan on the road Monday night. They beat Junction City Tuesday night, got some players some playing time, maybe got to get their starters off their feet a little bit. So this isn't the typical 3-game week for a team. What does Washburn Rural need to do to turn the tables on Hayden and get a win in the rematch?
Get a little more versatility on the offensive end. We know Zoe Canfield can score. We know Maddie Vickery can score. But they got to get some more in that 6 to 8 range to put them up. They scored, I believe, 22 points against Emporia, and you can't win when you do that. And but I'm sure, I never count out Kevin Bordewick's team. particularly late in the season. They just seem to turn it up a couple notches late in the season. So we'll see.
Let's turn our attention now to the Lewis Toyota High School Basketball Games of the Week we are going to bring you on this coming Friday night. Tomorrow night, we will be in Rossville for the renewal of the War on 24 hostilities, the second matchup of the season between Rossville and Silver Lake. We're going to have those games right here on 580 WIBW tomorrow night. Silver Lake won the first meetings in both girls and boys basketball. Silver Lake hasn't lost to anybody yet. They're 16-0. Rossville girls are 14-2, coming off an overtime loss at Osage City on Tuesday night. Another really good 3A team. Silver Lake and Rossville boys are both 10-6, so that one projects to be pretty competitive as well. What are you most looking forward to about the rematches in the War on 24 on Friday?
Well, if I'm Silver Lake, I'm probably wishing that Rossville girls had won the other night and came in because, now you got a team that's a little mad and a little, you never are not motivated for the War on 24. So I think they'll put up a good fight against Silver Lake girls. As far as the boys game, guys, I think that's a toss-up. I thought it was a toss-up the first time, and I think Rossville, might get a little bit of an edge just because they've won a bunch here lately.
We're talking to Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. This is the Lewis Toyota High School Lewis Toyota High School whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. We've talked a lot of basketball. Let's pivot a little bit, talk about some of the other winter sports. Centennial League Wrestling Championships were last weekend, and Washburn Rural, once again, they took care of business. The boys and the girls both winning. It's getting to be a bit of a habit out there at Washburn Rural, isn't it?
Well, it is. And, with they win a dual tournament in both, and Hayden did not participate, so you had 4 duels, and they had the best duel of the day was Washburn Rural boys and Manhattan boys. I think Manhattan went in ranked number 1, Rural went in number 2, and Rural won by a very slight margin. So that was a heck of a duel. But hey, we already got girls regionals this week. So, you talk about getting to the nitty-gritty, it's there.
What is the outlook for girls regionals? Which teams look like they're going to have a chance to send a lot of wrestlers, if not their entire teams, through to state?
Well, right at the top, you talk about Rural and Shawnee Heights. Shawnee Heights was ranked as high as 2nd a few weeks ago. Now they were ranked 4th last week. I haven't looked at this week's, but I'm sure they're right there. They won a 5th straight UKC title. Washburn Rural won their 4th straight Centennial League title. So those are the teams to start with. Seaman's very good, but Seaman's been a little, without the best sisters. They've been out injured. They're trying to get back for regionals. But there's, you start with the big dogs, so to speak, and that's Rural and Heights.
We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. This is the Lewis Toyota High School whip around on 580 Sports Talk. And Pistol, I wanted to ask you from the gridiron, along with a couple other sports as well, but yesterday was National Signing Day, and we talked about it throughout the high school football season. We've talked about it over the course of the offseason so far, but it was really an incredible year for high school football in the capital city and around all of Northeast Kansas, but certainly Shawnee County. So much senior-laden talent. When you look at how many kids from the area have committed to play college ball, whether it's at Washburn, somewhere else D2, going to the D1 level for some kids, maybe even NAIA, where does this year stack up against some of the other years in recent memory in terms of just the sheer amount of talent going on to play college football?
One of the deepest I remember, maybe the deepest I remember, as far as we don't have JUCO signees that we used to. We used to have, we'd have 15 kids from one school going to a JUCO. We don't have that, but we got a bunch of Division IIs. We got some Division I. We don't have a Notre Dame or, some of those, but we have, it's a very good class. And, particularly Washburn, you have to watch it because you don't want to sign kids just to sign them because they're local kids. But all those kids that Washburn signed, they can play. So, I mean, it was an easy choice for Coach Schurig and his staff to sign those kids because they can all play, and I think they can all be factors in the MIAA.
And as Craig Schurig told us yesterday during halftime coverage of Washburn basketball over on Country 106.9, there's a very good chance a lot of those guys are going to play and going to play pretty quickly. By the way, real quick, Pistol, while we're talking Washburn, because I know you were out at Lee Arena last night as well. Tough night for the women with that 13-point loss against a really, really good Missouri Western team. But how about that performance from the Washburn men to hang on and win in thrilling fashion? Feels like these two teams always play great games against each other, and no better way to head into a huge matchup this weekend with Northwest than with a big win yesterday over Missouri Western.
You know, they didn't, and of course, I talked to the same people you talked to. You know, I talked to Andrew Orr, I talked to Brett Ballard, and I talked to Jermel Johnson. And man, you know, they were all mad about how they played last Saturday. And so they really needed a good bounce-back performance. And what the word I kept using, Brendan, was that, you know, they didn't shoot the ball exceptionally well and stuff, but it was a real gutty. It was gutty is the word I used for that win last night.
Rick Peterson covers all things Shawnee County sports from Washburn University to the high schools in Shawnee County as well at topsports.news. And he joins us every Thursday at this time on 580 Sports Talk for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. Pistol, where are you going to be tomorrow night?
I've made a quick switch. I'm sending Todd Fertig over to the War on 24, and he was happy to do that. He loves that rivalry. And I'm going to go watch Kylan Park play Kansas City Central, which is one of Missouri, the metro area of Missouri's best teams. They're ranked number 4 in Missouri. So I want to see that game.
That should be a dandy. Enjoy that one. We'll tell Todd hello and tell him to pass along good wishes at the War on 24 tomorrow night. And Pistol, we'll talk to you next Thursday. Thanks so much.
Look forward to it. Bye.
That is Rick Peterson. That is the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk. We're halfway home on this edition of the program. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from Big Red. Andy Reid spoke to the media for a final time before Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to talk to him. We're going to play a little What Is Wrong With You, and CJ Moore of The Athletic will join us for the Big 12 breakdown. That's all coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
now, 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, just getting started on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and of course on YouTube. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. That is where you can find our live video stream. We are live throughout the show today at Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta, just off of 150th Road. Just take 75 highway straight north of the capital city. It is impossible to miss Prairie Band. We will be up here again throughout the duration of the show today. Brendan, Dan, and Spencer here with you. Spencer holding things down for us back at the 580 studios on Huntoon Hill. Still getting to take advantage of the brand new camera setup in the control room. Dan and I just using the webcams here today.
Yeah, you can see over my shoulder, we got Embers Bar and Grill is up over my shoulder.
It smells so good.
It does. It smells awesome.
Got some of the TVs back here behind me if you're watching on the YouTube feed. Over to my right, we've got some of the press conferences from the Super Bowl today. 7 TVs in a bunch over here, 3 that are right behind me over here. It's just an awesome place to come, watch a game, hang out with some friends, have a drink, get some action on some of the games. Really, really excited to be here and really happy to be spending some time with the fine folks up here at Prairie Band Sportsbook. Our guy Vince holding things down back behind the counter. Dan and I, in fact, just went up to the counter. Both had a little action we had to put down.
Yeah, we did. I got some slips.
Been waiting for this all day, so I might as well make the announcement because I'm going to dip a little bit early. We got the Washburn basketball coaches show tonight. So
lay it on us. Give us the America East picks.
We have been waiting all day, folks, to finally be here at Prairie Band to make the official picks for America East Thursday from Prairie Band Sportsbook. All right, so we are rolling with UAlbany on the road at Binghamton. Albany getting 3.5. Give me the Danes in that one on the road. We've got New Hampshire, also weirdly, a road dog by 5.5 at Bryant. We're taking the Wildcats in that one. We've got UMBC, a home dog, taking on UMass Lowell. The model likes Lowell to win, not by that much. 7.5 points is what UMBC is getting. I'm taking the Retrievers, and then we're riding with Vermont. At NJIT, the New Jersey Institute of Technology, spread is 14. I do not care. Give me Vermont no matter what. Those are your American.
Vermont no matter what, or is the NJIT that bad?
NJIT is not very good. The system right about at that number, so we're going to stick with Vermont. And I didn't do that last week. It was too close to call. Went with the math, and I got burned. Vermont won by 1 million last week. So give me Vermont on the road in that one. So, yeah, Albany, New Hampshire, UMBC, Vermont. Those are your spread picks for America East Thursday.
I am not tailing Brendan on America East Thursday today, but I did make sure to get a little action on my beloved Denver Nuggets to win the Western Conference at plus 175 odds. I also made a couple of different Super Bowl MVP plays. One for Patrick Mahomes at plus 140 odds, because I think if the Chiefs win, he's going to be the MVP. And the other, Christian McCaffrey at plus 450 odds, because I think if the 49ers win, he's going to be the MVP. Am I hedging? Yes. Am I a coward? That's not for you to say.
Hey, look, wins are wins. I mean, if we're being completely honest, whatever it takes to get a win, you should be happy
What's that clip? I'm leaving here with something.
Hey, there are far worse ways to leave a sports book, so hard to blame me for that one. Again, we will be here throughout the show. We are right behind this array. We've got a dozen chairs right here. They're extremely comfortable. I'm literally feeling one right now. They're extremely comfortable. Have cup holders here, too. You get a couple drinks, again, right next to Embers Bar and Grill right next to us. The casino itself right next door. So come on by. Obviously, you got NBA, college basketball action tonight. It'll be all over the TVs here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Later on this hour, we've got our What Is Wrong With You for the day, and we will hear from CJ Moore of The Athletic for the Big 12 breakdown in this hour on 5 Sports Talk. But first things first, why don't we hear from Big Red? Guys, Andy Reid spoke earlier today, as he has throughout Super Bowl week, rounding out the Super Bowl media sessions over the last couple of hours for both the Chiefs and the 49ers. So without further ado, let's hear from Big Red Andy Reid and what he had to say earlier on this afternoon.
Kind of cranking this thing down. Once you get to Thursday, that game's in sight there. So we get through today. That'll be good. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Coach Neil Reynolds from Sky Sports in the UK.
Yes.
I've got a question about a very specific part of Sunday. When the players run out of the tunnel for the biggest game of their lives, there's suddenly 20 minutes until kickoff. Do you leave them to themselves? Do you prepare them for that? How do you manage that situation, and does experience help?
Experience does help, but we cover that, yes. We ask them to get off their feet, kind of pump the brakes a little bit, and relax so they don't use all their energy during that time. And then with 5 minutes left to get back up and get moving. So, yeah, we have a game plan for that. Doesn't always work because the guys' juices are going, but that's what we try to do.
Over here.
All right, Adam.
Morning. In a situation like this, what things do you look at to tell you your team is ready, or in the other case, maybe not ready? What kind of things do you look at to gauge that?
Yeah, so you can tell we've been around these guys for how many ever months here, and you get a pretty good sense on the energy level at practice, in meetings, the attention in meetings, the accuracy of running the actual play. And I'd probably say those are the primary ingredients. And it doesn't, success and failure in a game doesn't always depend on whether I think they're ready or not ready. There have been times when I go on, the biorhythms look a little down and they go play like crazy, so, but normally that's, if they're focused in with those things I gave you there, then normally they're ready to go.
Coach, right here.
Hey, Andy, Ricardo Lopez from Mundo NFL. What do you think about your legacy as a play caller? I mean, you developed Patrick Mahomes, you helped to turn Travis Kelce into the best tight end probably in the history, and you create a perfect offensive machine. What do you think about your legacy?
Yeah, listen, I've been blessed in my career to have a lot of great players, and so they make your plays look good. They execute. As far as the legacy goes, I don't really think about that. We're so tied up into the game and getting ready for the game that's where all your energy goes. And the neat thing about football is very humbling. So, within a game, you're going to have these highs and lows. What you think is a great play might not end up being a great play. So the game can pick you up and it can slap you in the face at the same time. It's a very humbling game that way.
Andy, to your right. Sorry if you've been asked this week, but obviously with last year's game, the field was very slick for both teams. Can you just talk about any preparations you guys have made for that this year, just in case? Have you talked about it with the guys?
Yeah. Well, we all saw the field when we drove over to the stadium the other night. So they've got the field outside getting ready, and they'll get it wheeled back inside. From what I gather, it's in great condition. I think last year's was a fluke, but our equipment guy's ready for everything. He brings the whole house with him, so we've got every shoe you can imagine for whatever presents itself there.
Coach, back here at the back.
Yep, gotcha.
I'm sorry to interrupt you talking about the game. That's a big thing, I know. But this weekend, they're voting for the Hall of Fame. There's a guy that kind of helped resurrect Chiefs football that we all care about in Kansas City, Marty Schottenheimer. What do you think about whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, if I was a voter, I'd vote for him. Big time fan of Marty's. He was a great motivator and great guy, great motivator, very tough, but very caring of his players. And obviously had a great mind for football. So those primary ingredients, and he won. So with multiple teams. So it's all the things that supposedly qualify you for the Hall of Fame. I think he has those. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, looking at when you played the 49ers 4 years ago, where do you think you've developed or changed the most as a head coach?
Well, it hasn't been that long ago. So I don't think much. I think it's the same philosophy, other than the game changes a little bit different every year. So you kind of go along with it and what the league gives you rule wise and things you can do in training camp. Those change you a bit because of, and most of them because of safety purposes and so on. So, but the general philosophies remain the same. Yeah.
Coach Jose Villalba from Millennium Multimedias in Mexico. Two questions. I don't know if any in the Chiefs had thought about this. Super Bowl 58, and when I think number 58, I think of the late great Derek Thomas, and because of what he meant to the Chiefs and Marty Schottenheimer, his coach, that legacy from that. And second, in Philadelphia, you had a great defensive coordinator in the late great Jim Johnson. Now you have Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator. How does that help you to create both with the Eagles and now with the Chiefs? And what similarities, difference, but at the same time that has helped you get so many times to big games?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about the 58 with Derek Thomas, but what a great player he was. When I was at Green Bay, we had a chance to come back and play the Chiefs, and I think he set an NFL sack record that day. I remember Don Beebe running a shallow cross, and he hit Don Beebe so hard he landed in the quarterback's lap, and he was a great one. On the other part, Jim Johnson was a great defensive coordinator. Spags had an opportunity to work with him and learn from him. I think some of those things Spags has used as his foundation for the defense that he runs now. But he's obviously added his own things to it, which Jim did with his defense. And but I tell you, the base foundation is Jim Johnson's, and then Spags is so creative that he's just taking it all different directions from there. And both of them are great coaches in their own right. Yeah, and have helped the program. Yeah.
Hello, Coach. You were born in Los Angeles. You grew up in California. You were also a coach in San Francisco State in the 80s. It is special for you to face the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, or is it like any other team for you?
Yeah, so I tell you, I have a good friend, Lee Bruno, and we both grew up in Los Angeles, both Ram fans, but he's converted. I didn't. Where are we?
Yeah, here, Coach Reid,
yeah.
American Football Community Belgium. You're defending champions, but this year you come in as a 3 seed, also as the underdog. Do you feel an underdog, and does that motivate you guys even more?
Yeah, listen, I understand why we're the underdog. I get that. We had some ups and downs during the season. I never feel like an underdog going into a game, but I understand why it's been situated that way, but it's what it is. So.
Andy in the back here, Aaron Ladd, KSH 41.
Yep.
You've been known to have one of these very complex offenses, a big playbook. What's allowed Rashee Rice to hit the ground running and be so successful for you all?
Yeah, I tell you, he's smart. He's used that SMU education and transferred it into football here. So he works hard. He's got a great relationship with the quarterback. So I think those are important things.
Coach back here,
10,000
gotcha. Takes. So you've had players that have played in the big game, and you've had players that haven't played in this big game. What's sort of your message to those players who haven't played in the Super Bowl to like help maybe calm some of those nerves that they might have?
Yeah, when you get through all of this stuff here, it's a game, and it's faster than most games. It's crazy how in the playoffs, every game's a little faster the higher you go up in the playoffs. So it's fast, but it's still the game. So you're professionals. You're, arguably 1 out of 32 guys at your position in the whole world. So you go play, and do your job. Yeah.
Hi, Coach. Danilo Celli for La Perrada, Mexico.
Yes.
Momentum shifts were key in both championships. How do you handle a momentum shift coming your way in the sideline? How do you get your players ready when you sense a momentum shift on your side? And on the other side, how will you prevent the 49ers to get these moments that they've clearly gotten on the previous games in this playoff run?
Yeah, there are highs and lows in every game. And so you work your way through those. I'm into not being too high or too low, and then figuring out problems. So communication becomes very big on that. What does the player see? What does the coach see? Get together, talk about it, and then come up with a solution. So if you do that and you do it well enough, then you can even out some of the issues that go on. On that other hand, if you do well, let's not get crazy and get caught up in that. Let's make sure that we come back to that next play, focus in, and get ourselves ready for it.
Hi, Coach. Good morning. Federico Herrera from Damebola. Hey, Coach, many people remembers that 13 seconds final drive in the divisional against Buffalo 2 years ago. As a head coach, you practice every play in the situation of football, or there are new decisions you have to take in seconds. I mean, you practice. You contemplate every scenario, or in the game plan, or sometimes not.
Yeah. So in training camp, we spent a lot of time on situations, and then just about everyone you can think of that comes up, you touch that during training camp and work on it. And then during the season, you don't have time to do that. So you do hit your 2-minute situations on the field, but then you also try to do it in the classroom and go through the different scenarios that are happening through the league each week, through college football each week. Joe Blameyer does a phenomenal job with that on our staff. And so it gives us an idea mentally where you can't do it all physically, but you can surely get the mental reps in there for the game. Yeah, there are decisions that have to be made and very quickly at times. Yeah. But hopefully we have that answer and have looked at it somewhere over the last few months. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, Jim Alexander here. You've done this for a long time. You've been to many of these Super Bowls. If you win this Sunday, what are the likelihood that you might consider hanging up and then kind of going out on top, or are you set already that you will be back next year?
Yeah, I haven't gone there. I don't think about that. I'm tied up in the game and trying to take care of that. I'm sure somewhere I'll know when that time is. It's not today or won't be Sunday. So, yeah.
Yeah, Andy, you mentioned the up and downs. The players really point to your consistent and steady approach during those moments. Is that something that's always come natural to you? Was there a time where it was different? Do you have moments to yourself where it's different? Just wonder if you could talk about that trait a little bit.
Yeah, I think you try to cover all the situations so that you can, or as many as you can. And the ones you don't cover, hopefully you've narrowed it down to where it fits somewhere in there, or at least as close to something that you've thought about. And then you can remain calm and knock it out and get the results you want. But I would say I've tried to be that way. I haven't changed. Maybe when I had more red hair, or any red hair, I had more of a temper, but in this world, I just try to get it done. And I think if I'm going crazy, everybody's going to be going crazy. And then now that fits into that chaos category, and that's not.
Coach, what has Porter Elliott meant to your coaching staff, and how have you seen him grow as a coach?
Yeah, that's my left-hand man. So he does a great job. He's worked in. He started off as my administrative assistant, and now he's working with the running backs. And he's brilliant. First of all, very, very intelligent. Got a great feel for the game. And he's got a great way with the players. I mean, the players they love him. And he does have one arm, so I have a brother that has one arm, so he taught my brother how to tie his shoe with one hand. I mean, it's amazing deal, but it just shows you that when people can do whatever they want to do. I mean, he does a heck of a job with our guys.
The last question right here.
Hi, Coach. Claire Overton, WEBN Boston. Your first Super Bowl appearance was with the Eagles in 2004. How has your process approaching the Super Bowl changed throughout the years?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed much. I know I was talking to Mike Holmgren the other day, and he was the fellow that I worked for in Green Bay, and he was very detailed. Came from Bill Walsh's staff in San Francisco and those Super Bowls there. So he had a plan for our Super Bowls that we went to, and I've kind of stuck with that. I've kind of hung with that schedule. The league has kind of remained the same, so it's allowed me to do that. But it's very similar to what I was taught and been able to use. Is there a tweak here or there? Yeah, but not far off.
So that is Andy Reid, Big Red, speaking earlier on today as the Chiefs gear up for Super Bowl 58. We were just remarking here at Prairie Band about that last question, and it wasn't a bad question. How has your process changed? Not a problem at all, but Andy Reid felt the need to specify who Mike Holmgren was.
Yeah, that made me feel real old. Mike Holmgren, is one of the formative football coaching figures of my life as a football fan for personal reasons, obviously. I mean, he employed my great uncle as his right-hand man offensive line coach for the better part of 12 years. But also, that's a name that's pretty easily recognizable to football fans of a certain vintage, and she must have looked like she was not of that vintage.
Apparently so. Holy cow.
But shout out, that was a good question. The international media brought some good questions today too. That was a entertaining and I think an informative Andy Reid press conference.
Probably
as those
the
things go.
best of the week.
Sometimes the stuff. Yeah, I thought so too, Spencer. I thought it was the best of the week by far.
Coming up on the other side of this timeout, we've got today's What Is Wrong With You, and we'll hear from CJ Moore later on this hour for the Big 12 breakdown. Coming up on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk, live today from Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. Brendan, Dan, Spencer here with you. As always, What is Wrong with You is sponsored by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to your metal with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Our winner for the week, Grand Theft Amish.
It's such a good title, man.
Such a good title. Shout out to Vance on YouTube who gave us that one. The person who stole the horse and buggy.
Yeah, she stole an Amish family's horse and buggy and took it to a hotel and hid from the police under a pile of clothes.
It is a great story.
It is really funny.
All right, I will go first today. My story involves a police officer who just a couple of years ago was actually awarded his home police department in Brookline, Massachusetts, was awarded their Officer of the Year honor in 2021 and was recognized for his ability to de-escalate situations.
Oh, wow.
Remember that.
I will.
Because this same Brookline detective is on leave after his arrest for allegedly assaulting people during a disturbance at Disney World.
Oh, gosh.
Detective Dwayne Danforth has been placed on administrative leave as a result of the incident in Florida, which occurred while he was off duty. That's good. The 38-year-old was arrested on January 30th after he allegedly assaulted security staffers and cast members at Walt Disney World's Epcot while trying to access a roped-off area he was not allowed to be in. Court documents say Danforth said, quote, "I'm going to bleeping kill you," while pushing a security team member away. He also allegedly struggled while being placed into handcuffs. This man absolutely had to get a picture with Goofy.
3 years since he was recognized as Officer of the Year, he has forgotten, apparently, how to de-escalate situations.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple story. Guy went to Disney World, lost his mind.
Looked like he got a little nick over his left eye, too. Looked like he didn't give as good as he got.
No, Timon and Pumbaa were ready to scrap.
He got caught the horn. The horn gouged him. Timon's tusk.
Cinderella was ready, man.
Had the wand and everything. Yeah, absolutely. All right, for my story today, we're going to Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Shout out to Lance Storm. If you are a businessman and you are looking to grow your business, one way to do that is to have a business card and hand it out to people who you might think would want your product.
Mm-hmm.
Another way is to offer samples of your product to prove the quality of your product. But when your product is cocaine, maybe you shouldn't do either of those things. Sayed Amir Rizavi, a 30-year-old gentleman from Calgary, did both of those things to promote not just his chauffeur business, but also his cocaine business. He reportedly posted up outside a casino and handed out his business card with small baggies of blow stapled to them. The card read Alex Lee, driver, and included contact details. The name on the card was fake, so our guy Sayed probably thought he was in the clear. No, all those other details helped the police track him down expeditiously and conduct surveillance for an entire month. After they finally arrested Rizavi, the cops found nearly 60 grams of cocaine in 50 baggies, a scale, and more than $1,200 in cash. CTV News reports that Rizavi is charged with 2 counts of trafficking a controlled substance, 1 count of possession for the purpose of trafficking, and 3 counts of possession of proceeds of crime under $5,000. Shout out to listener Ryan for this story. Yeah, man, I don't know that you want to be giving out free samples of Colombian Bang Bang outside the casino. I think that's probably the wrong way to go.
So this story hits surprisingly close to home to me.
Okay.
When I was in high school, a guy who was actually a neighbor of mine, I will call him Charles, just Charles to protect his identity. He was notorious for selling the Mary Jane. He sold a lot of weed.
Okay.
Had business cards that said Charles, last name, entrepreneur on them, and used to give them out at school.
Did you give out any free samples?
I don't think so.
He must have been doing pretty well if you give out free samples of cocaine.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, my product is good. I stand behind it.
Try some before you buy a lot.
What's the try a little before you buy a lot. The line from American Gangster. I stand behind it. They know me, even if they don't know. They know me like they know the chairman of General Mills.
Oh, wow. These are 2 good ones today. Who you got?
I got to go with the guy who was giving out free cocaine.
and thought that it wasn't going to come back to bite him.
All I need is an alias, and I'll be scot-free.
Who do you have, Spencer?
I got the same one. Just putting business
All right,
cards that just you can't beat that. That level of
too
stupidity.
funny. All right. That wins today. Does that beat Grand Theft Amish?
I think it might.
I think it does.
Yeah,
I'm
I
voting
think
yes.
we're all in agreement on this.
Yeah, it's a nice business card. I wonder what
Driver.
Driver. I wonder what old boy from oh my God, I can't come up with the name of the movie. The American Psycho. Wonder what old boy would think of his business card.
Yeah, no kidding. That is our new winner for the week here on What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply. Coming up next, CJ Moore of The Athletic in the Big 12 Breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis here with you on 580 Sports Talk. Hoping to hear shortly from CJ Moore of The Athletic for the Big 12 breakdown. CJ can be found on Twitter at CJ Moore Hoops, and of course all of his great work covering college basketball over at theathletic.com. Working on getting CJ on the horn here in just a few moments. We are live throughout the show today from Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. Don't forget about all the different fun promotions going on at the Sportsbook right now, including Swifty Bingo for the big game coming up on Sunday. Up to $250 in Prairie Cash is available to win. All sorts of props. That's on the free-to-play, Play for Fun Prairie Band website. Also, the big game, big bet promotion. Any $10 bet on the big game on Sunday between right now, and 4:30 on Sunday, that will automatically enter you into an opportunity to win $100 or $250 or even $500 in free bets here at Prairie Band Casino and Sportsbook. So come swing on by. Again, we're here throughout the rest of the show. Only 20 minutes north of the capital city. Just jump on 75, come up north, and you can hang out with us here at Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino. Again, we'll get to CJ Moore hopefully here in just a few moments. This is a big weekend for KU in particular, and we'll talk a little K-State as well. But KU, I mean, we know the schedule in the Big 12 is a grind all year long. But to go from that game against Houston to that, well, you have Iowa State lost a couple games ago. Then you get the game against Oklahoma State. Yeah, not a surprise you win that one. Then you go Houston, on the road, quick turnaround at K-State, and then Baylor right after that. And I know it's at Allen Fieldhouse, and KU should end up winning that game, but man, that is a brutal stretch for KU. I would reckon that's the toughest stretch all year long.
Yeah.
Even with 2 games at home.
Yeah, as far as 3-game stretches go, I think you're probably right. And I like KU's chances beyond just being at Allen Fieldhouse. I think that Baylor, they're a great 3-point shooting team, but they're really dependent on the 3. And I think that that doesn't travel maybe as readily as some other things that do. And you just look at their game against Kansas State where they couldn't make anything and ended up losing to K-State in overtime. K-State's not as good as Baylor is. Baylor didn't make any shots on the road and they got. And so I think that for Kansas, again, it'll be a game they're favored to win and a game that they probably should win, but not going to be easy, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination, because Baylor is a good club. It's a big one for K-State, too, on Saturday, going to BYU. We have operated under a broad assumption since the Big 12 season began that if K-State could get 9 Big 12 wins, they could go 9-9 in the Big 12, that was going to be enough to get them into the NCAA tournament. I am growing more concerned that that may not be the case because the non-conference schedule is starting to be less favorable to K-State. The Miami and USC losses look worse than we thought they would when they happened. The Villanova win does not look as good as we thought it might. Villanova doesn't look like they're going to make the tournament. I think they're 12-11 on the year. So they look like they're going to miss March entirely. The Providence win still looks okay. Providence has kept it in the road with the Bryce Hopkins injury, but it's not K-State's fault that teams they scheduled with the thought that they were going to be good ended up not being that good. It's just kind of a bad break. And when you couple that with a disappointing start to league play and some league losses that don't reflect well on you, like in Stillwater, it's going to be maybe more of an uphill climb. They might have to get a road game, like a quad 1 road win would look really, really good for K-State right now. And I don't believe they have one of those yet. If they go to BYU and get one, that would be
BYU would be a good one.
Yeah, that would be a big step in the right direction.
Other than that, I mean, so the other opponents on the road that K-State still has remaining? Texas at Moody, that's winnable. That's a disappointing Texas team, but that is a winnable game. Cincinnati, I'm going to go out, and you already mentioned BYU. I am going to go out on a limb and say K-State will not win at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it once in 30 years?
Yeah.
Literally.
So I think those opportunities are out there. Like, BYU is really good, but K-State at its best can hang with BYU, certainly. Texas, again, is beatable. I don't know if Cincinnati is good enough, but getting something on the road would be positive there. So
yeah, Kansas State, you got to go a long way to find them in the net rankings right now. They're 76th. They're keeping company with the likes of North Texas and Louisiana Tech and Samford and, in a bit of irony, Memphis. Memphis is 2 spots below them in the net rankings. But looking at their wins, they're 4-4 against quad 2, but they're 2-4 against quad 1. So they could really use a quad 1 road win. I think that would be something that would really juice their resume when it comes time to selecting the field of 68.
We will, again, continue to try to get CJ Moore on the horn here. I was going to ask you, though, since we know that this is not really CJ's. All right, so we actually have been updated now on what the situation is going to be with CJ Moore. So we're going to take a break here in a moment. CJ is currently tied up in something. He's going to get back to us as soon as he is available.
Okay.
So we'll operate on the fly. We're going to take an extra timeout right now. We'll come back in 2 minutes, finish up this 4 o'clock hour. We will be joined then next hour, or near the top of the hour anyway, by both Mitch Holthus for our regularly scheduled Thursday conversation as we get ready for the Super Bowl. Got our 580 Sports Talk headlines still to get to. Might hear a little from Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully we will hear from CJ Moore as well. That is all coming up here as we wrap up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk.
Well, like the best quarterback, sometimes you got to call it audible on the program. That's what we're doing here on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon, live from the Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort north of Topeka in Mayetta. I am Dan Lucero. I'm the only one here now. Brendan Dworzinski is headed off back to Topeka. He's got to get to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill for tonight's Washburn basketball coaches show. That'll take place from 6 to 7 p.m. tonight over on our sister station, Classic Country 106.9. And again, he'll be live at Skinny's. If you want to go down to Huntoon and Gage, check that out. Enjoy a beverage or some tasty food. They got some good food. They got really good wings there. They got good little tacos there. You go check out Skinny's. Go say hi to Brendan. He's got the Washburn Coaches Show tonight. So that's why you will not hear from him any further on the program today. But I'm hanging out with you. I'm still here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Maybe you're about to get off of work today. That's a possibility. Maybe you're about to punch the clock, call it good on your day, and you're thinking, I got nothing going on this Thursday night. What should I do? Well, what you should do, you should get on up here to Prairie Band Sportsbook. You should watch some college basketball. You can watch a little golf. They're going to get the Waste Management Open back underway here, I think, in an hour, I think, or an hour or two anyway. They're going to play some more golf in Phoenix today, so you can watch that live on the Golf Channel. They've got 10 TVs just contained here in the sports book, and a bunch more behind me over my shoulder over at the Embers Bar and Grill, too. If you're wanting to sit on that side, get a meal, sit in one of the comfy chairs, and, of course, get your action down for tonight's college basketball slate, or they've got some future wagers, NBA, NHL. Of course, the Super Bowl is this Sunday as well. And Prairie Band Sportsbook wants you to win big from the big game. So they've got a big game, big bet promotion that is going on right now. You come and you place a $10 wager, any $10 wager, on the big game between San Francisco and Kansas City, and you will be entered into a drawing. One person is going to win a $100 free bet. One person is going to win a $250 free bet, and one person is going to win a $500 free bet. That's all if you just place a $10 bet, win or lose, here before the kickoff on Sunday. If you place a $10 bet at the Prairie Band Sportsbook on the big game, you will be entered in that sweepstakes, the big game, big bet here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Again, we are hoping to be speaking with CJ Moore of The Athletic for our Big 12 breakdown. We will hope to catch up with him. He's a little tied up, and sometimes, life intervenes. Things get in the way. So we're hoping to talk with him. Maybe we can catch him here in just a bit, or maybe in the 5 o'clock hour as well. We still got Mitch Holthus coming up at 5:35 tonight on the show as well. The great voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, will join us from Las Vegas. We'll get his perspective on Super Bowl week like no other before it, and we'll also get his thoughts on the matchup between the Chiefs and the 49ers, the fourth time that Mitch has gotten to call a Super Bowl in the last 5 years. There are announcers, NFL announcers, go their whole careers, never get to call one. There are announcers who never get to the NFL and can only dream of calling a Super Bowl. This is Mitch's fourth in 5 years, and I guarantee he doesn't take the opportunity for granted. So always excited to talk to Mitch coming up at 5:35. We will do our headlines as well, if we can fit them in the 5 o'clock hour. Plenty going on today in the world of sports. It's the NBA trade deadline. We'll have some quick notes on that. Somebody shot a 57 in a competitive round of golf today. Not just some dude dinking around on the links. I've shot a 57 on playing 9 holes before. Somebody on the Korn Ferry Tour shot a 57 today.
That's crazy.
We're talking about that maybe a little late. 57. I did that on a video game once, and I felt bad about it because nobody's ever done that in real life. And I broke the game. No, now somebody went and did it in real life. So we'll perhaps mention that as well. I know we've got some Chiefs audio. Spencer, do we have the ability to pull up some of that Chiefs audio we had from earlier today?
Yes, we do.
All righty.
We're going to
go ahead and
you want me to
play.
just lead it?
No, I'll cue it up.
Okay,
I'll
yeah.
cue it up.
Yeah,
we're figuring this out as we. Yeah. I have it right in front of me. So, we're kind of making this up as we go along a little bit. Patrick Mahomes did speak to the media earlier today. We have a couple of cuts from Patrick. There's been a lot of comparison lately between what the Chiefs have done over the last 5 seasons and with what Tom Brady and the New England Patriots did over the course of time. And this cut is Mahomes talking about what, if anything, they've been able to learn from the lessons taught by those Patriots, those great Patriots Tom Brady teams.
Yeah, I think I was actually talking to Travis about this. I have a greater appreciation for what they did for so long. I mean, just to be able to come back and be in this many Super Bowls that they were in, and to continue to get every team's best shot and continue to just get better and better and win more and more. It's tough. It's hard. And I think I have a greater appreciation for what they did as an organization, Tom as a leader of that team and all the other leaders that they have, to continue to stay on top of their game and get better and better every single year.
That's Patrick Mahomes from earlier today. Something else that Mahomes mentioned was the experience that he's had in big games throughout his career and the ability to stay calm in those big game situations. Here's more Mahomes.
Definitely something I think's learned with experience and with being in the moment. I think the biggest thing for me is just trying to be myself. That's what I've always tried to do. And anything that I do is just be yourself, trusting your teammates, and everything else kind of handles itself.
One other cut from Patrick Mahomes speaking with the media earlier today, discussing his relationship with Andy Reid and how in sync the two are when it comes to Andy Reid making a play call.
I think the biggest thing for me, especially now, is when he calls a play, I know what he's thinking and kind of who he thinks the ball's going to go to. And it might be different than practice. It might be different than what we've worked on throughout the year. But based off the game that the defense is playing and the play that he calls, I have a good understanding of what he's thinking and who he thinks the ball's going to.
So, again, that's some audio from Patrick Mahomes earlier today. The players and coaches speak every day during Super Bowl week until Friday. Then they finally get a couple of days away from the spotlight, away from the cameras, away from the questions, the sometimes insipid questions, and finally get to focus up on the game itself. Nick Bolton also spoke with the media today. A couple interesting cuts from Nick. First, this one about playing against the standout wide receiver for the 49ers, Deebo Samuel.
He does a great job of getting the ball in space, man, whether it be as a runner and rocket screens or in the backfield and some sweeps, toss plays, all that. They use the skill set to their advantage. And, he's on the perimeter. He uses his speed with a lead blocker out in head. And he's a one-cut guy, man. He's able to get upfield. And he's been doing that since he was out of South Carolina.
Again, that's Nick Bolton. We have one more Bolton cut. He was asked a broad question about the group of linebackers this season who have been really instrumental for the Chiefs defense. He's obviously a part of that group. Drew Tranquill's been a wonderful free agent addition. Leo Chanel has improved a great deal in year two. I think that's kind of gone under the radar. And of course, the Chiefs will be happy to have Willie Gay back for the Super Bowl. Here's what Nick Bolton had to say about the group of linebackers he gets to play with.
Quite honestly, they got a lot of talent over there. Those guys, the guys in the room, got a lot of respect for those guys over there. But to answer your question, man, we feel like we're in the same boat as those guys. This season, man, I've kind of been up and down, and I've been in and out the lineup. So Drew Tranquill's come in and did a hell of a job, man. Willie's been doing his thing. Leo is doing his thing as well, man. And I think Jack, honestly, had an opportunity to play in this league as well as a starting backer. So we're all those guys coming every single day, man, and put their best foot forward and trying to see where it takes them. It's been a journey, a joy to watch the journey. Especially watching Drew, man. I understand how hard it is in this system to come in for 1 year and do the things that he's done. So I've definitely been proud of that. I've been watching that from afar. And, yeah, man, I think we're excited. We got to understand we don't get the most respect as a defense as a whole, but at this point, we're not looking for respect, looking for wins.
It's interesting that the Chiefs don't have the name recognition on defense that the 49ers do. The 49ers have a much more famous defense. They have bigger names. They have higher draft picks. They have guys who've been to more Pro Bowls, been more All-Pro, been named to more All-Pro teams. But the Chiefs defense has performed at a level that is equal to or maybe even better than what the 49ers have done. Certainly in the postseason, they have outperformed the 49ers defense. And if some of those guys that Nick Bolton was talking about, if Nick Bolton himself, if they're more household names on Sunday night than they were throughout the last 2 weeks, that'll probably be good news for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's going to wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to do headlines. We're going to talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. We will perhaps hear from CJ Moore of The Athletic for our Big 12 basketball breakdown. It's a jam-packed final hour live from Prairie Band Sportsbook on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final hour of the day here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. About a 20-minute drive north of Topeka in Mayetta. I am Dan Lucero, delighted to be here with you, delighted to have seen some of you come out to hang out at the Sportsbook today. We've got live sports on the TVs here at the Sportsbook. We got some top 15 ACC women's basketball, Notre Dame and Louisville. We're gonna have some more college hoops coming up. We're back to live golf. The Waste Management Open is back live, so we're back to some live golf. We got who is that about to tee up on 16? I thought I recognized it. That is not Xander Schauffele. That is definitely not Xander. I apologize to Xander for thinking it was Xander, in fact. Matt Kuchar's going to tee off on the stadium hole here in a bit, it looks like. So we got some live sports going on. They're taking your bets. Again, the big game, big bet promotion going on at Prairie Band Sportsbook gives you a chance to win a free bet of $100, $250, or $500. They're going to choose 3 lucky winners. All you've got to do is come here to the Prairie Band Sportsbook and place at least a $10 bet on the big game. That's all you got to do. Doesn't matter what the bet is. Money line, spread, total. You can bet one of the many props. I've got a whole binder here. Not a binder, but a big pamphlet full of props you can bet. Game MVP. You can bet on total rushing attempts, rushing yards, receiving yards. You can bet the final score, the exact final score. Total turnovers, kicker points over unders. If you can think of it, you can bet it. And if you bet at least $10 on the big game, you're entered in the big game, big bet promotion here at Prairie Band Sportsbook. We're thrilled to be here. They treat us great here at Prairie Band Sportsbook. They'll treat you great too. And hopefully you'll come up here and win. I'll tell you right now, if you like the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, you can still get plus money on the Chiefs. They are plus 107 on the board here at the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Just me here for now because Brendan Dworzinski has stepped out. He's on his way back to Topeka for the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show. Again, that's at 6 o'clock tonight over on our sister station, Classic Country 106.9. Brendan will speak to the head coaches of Washburn men's and women's basketball at Skinny's at the corner of Huntoon and Gage in Topeka. Spencer Dupuis still holding it down on the ones and twos back at our Huntoon Hill studio, saluting the people on the live stream. We are, of course.
You weren't here earlier yesterday when you had left to go to the basketball game. Brendan said the same thing. It said essentially the same thing that I was here and you were gone. And I said, "What up?" And I got him. He was so taken off guard.
Yeah, he threw him off.
Yeah.
So love that. Love knowing that you can distract both of us. You wield a lot of power from behind that board, Spencer. I only ask that you use it wisely for the good of all of us. We are on video, as always. 580 Sports Talk is a YouTube channel. Subscribe. You can catch us on YouTube. Be involved in the live chat. You can also stream the video on our Twitter account, 580 Sports Talk. If you got the Twitter app open, you can watch that on our Twitter page, 580 Sports Talk. You can also check us out on Facebook, the WIBW News Facebook page. We're now streaming live over there as well. So however you're consuming the show today, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on 580 Sports Talk. Got a jam-packed final hour. We are again hoping that CJ Moore's schedule will allow him to join us here this afternoon. We could get him at our usual time for the Big 12 breakdown, but hoping that we can get CJ in this hour. Also this hour, Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, going to join us at 5:35 from Las Vegas, get his breakdown of Super Bowl 58 and what Super Bowl week in Vegas has been like for the Chiefs. We asked him last week. I asked him, you're going to get down with some cards, maybe play some roulette. And Mitch says, that's not really my thing. Maybe I'll go to a hockey game. Maybe I'll go to a show. So I want to know what the Vegas experience has been like for Mitch, what it has been like in the media realm for this first ever Super Bowl to be played in Sin City.
I'll tell you
Mitch
what.
Holthus will join us.
He's been getting his props all over social media, over the Chiefs' social media this week, giving some insight throughout the week.
Well, nobody's better. That's why we're so lucky to have him on, and Chiefs fans are so lucky to have him as their voice. So 5:35, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will be joining us. But in the meantime, in between time, we've got some 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to, and we've got a big one to start us off, folks. One of the major players in the Super Bowl isn't going to be able to be at the Super Bowl. I'm talking, of course, about the game's in-house DJ, Tiesto. He is not going to be able to perform before and throughout Super Bowl 58. Apparently, there was an unforeseen family circumstance that has caused the world-renowned DJ to pull out. But if you were hoping to see Tiesto or hear him on the pregame show or during the game, unfortunately, I have some bad news. He will not be a part of the Super Bowl 58 festivities. So we'll go ahead and we'll lead off with that because I don't have the injury report yet. I don't have today's participation report from practice. Those come out a little later because everything's on West Coast time. Both teams are already in Vegas, of course. So usually the Chiefs would put theirs out around 3 o'clock Central Time or 4 o'clock Central Time. But if they come out at 3 o'clock Pacific or 4 Pacific, we might not have seen him yet. So we don't have that yet, but we do know that Tiesto confirmed out for Super Bowl 58.
I wonder if the NFL is going to scramble here and get somebody else.
Another DJ?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just taking
should
Dylan
get,
Francis. Dylan Francis. He's all over TikTok these days. So
okay, I wouldn't know anything about that. I don't TikTok. I am too washed for TikTok. I watch all the good TikToks make their way over to Twitter eventually, and that's where I get to see them.
Or my
wife sends them to me.
Steve Aoki.
Who's that now?
Martian Garrix, Steve Aoki, Afrojack. I'm just listing a bunch of DJs that could possibly.
So
it would be funny if they got Calvin Harris because Calvin Harris.
Steve Aoki is doing. Steve Aoki is doing a remix of the CBS football theme music. I saw that advertised during halftime of the AFC Championship game. So if Aoki's in Vegas, and I think he's does a residency out there or something like that, maybe he'll step in. Maybe he'll pinch hit. I don't know if he'd appreciate being the second choice Super Bowl DJ. Why there needs to be a Super Bowl DJ is something that I don't totally yet understand, and maybe I won't understand. Maybe it's not for me to understand. Some things I've come to understand as I have gotten older are not for me to understand. But no Tiesto, if you were hoping to see him. Vance in the YouTube comments asks who I'm talking about. Tiesto, world-renowned DJ. That's all I got for you, man. I'm not going to hum any of his songs or anything like that.
Hey, you could potentially fill him in with Alesso, Zed, DJ Snake, Marshmello.
Did you just Google famous DJs? Is that what you did?
Nicky Romero. Yeah, I just said top DJs.
Okay,
I have
at least
no
you're being
clue.
honest about it.
I mean, I've heard of some of these people. I've heard of some of these people. They're on remixes to songs, but
just being honest with you, you've never struck me as a person who would have an encyclopedic knowledge of who famous DJs are. So I'm not real surprised that you just looked that up. You didn't really have me fooled.
I was into that kind of music at one point in my life.
Oh, is that right?
The remixes to songs like the Calvin Harris remix, the Steve Aoki remix, the Martian Garrix had that song "Animals." That was a hit.
I'll take your word for it. We have a text from the 785 that says Calvin Harris poisoned Tiesto so he can get closer to Taylor Swift.
That's what.
All right, we need to keep it moving. What you got for your first 580 Sports Talk headline today?
My first 580 Sports Talk headline is the trade deadline. A lot in the NBA, a lot of movers today. Bogdanovich to the Knicks. There's been a lot more.
It's Bojan Bogdanovich, not Bogdan. He's somebody completely different. There's a Bojan Bogdanovich and a Bogdan Bogdanovich. It's Bojan, former Piston, who goes to the New York Knicks today.
Yes. Then Patrick Beverley, I believe he's been traded twice today. I saw a tweet.
He's going to the Bucks.
Yeah, but he was traded twice. I think he was somebody, or I don't know. I saw somebody tweet that thanks for being my teammate for just an hour and a half. I'm trying to figure out who that was.
Yeah, that was Robin Lopez of the Bucks because he was released by the Bucks today.
Oh, that's what it was.
So no, Beverly wasn't traded twice. He was traded from the Sixers to the Bucks.
I I wasn't
it's
really
very funny
following.
because
I just
he
saw
and
that tweet and I thought it was funny.
he and Damian Lillard have Twitter beef from the past. Lillard called him a con man on Twitter, I think 3 years ago, and now they're teammates because Damian Lillard couldn't guard me. So the Bucks need a little bit of defensive help on the perimeter, and they go get Pat Bev, who he can guard. He can't score, but he can guard. Any others? Any other noteworthy trades made at the deadline today? Kind of a dud of a trade deadline. No real big names. No real big moves by the real heavy hitters.
Yeah, I'm not a big NBA guy, nor am I a big Wizards fan, but they did sell off Daniel Gafford to the Mavericks.
Who did he end up with?
The Mavericks.
Dallas. That's right. Yeah, Dallas made a bunch of moves today. They went and got a couple of big men, Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. The Mavericks are like 6th in the Western Conference, maybe even 7th. But they're trying to go all in because they've got one more year, I think, until Luke is a free agent and Kyrie Irving's not getting any younger, and they may as well do what they can to try and win. The Thunder did an interesting thing today. They acquired Gordon Hayward in a trade with the Hornets. That's an interesting piece, I think, for the Thunder to add. Currently, the Thunder in a 3-way tie atop the Western Conference. The Thunder, the Wolves, and the Nuggets all have the same record. And then the Clippers are half a game back. So it's tight atop the Western Conference. The Suns are 6th or 7th in the conference. They're right down there with the Mavericks. The Suns went out and added Royce O'Neal in a trade, a decent role player. Buddy Hield, former Sunrise Christian Academy star and Oklahoma Sooner, he's headed to Philadelphia as the Sixers try and bolster their roster while Joel Embiid is out injured. Those are really all the noteworthy moves. Like I said, not a super active trade deadline by any stretch of the imagination. But the thing about the NBA trade deadline is that it's very rare that anything that happens during it actually swings a championship. The last time there was a trade made by a team that ended up winning it all that was really significant in terms of who it added to their roster was probably 2004 when Detroit traded for Rasheed Wallace and put him in the starting lineup instead of Mehmet Okur. And that was a major upgrade and a big part of the reason why the Pistons ended up winning the NBA championship, beating the Lakers in the finals that year. Really, since then, there haven't been any trades that definitively swung a title. Like the Raptors got Marc Gasol in 2019, but they were already really good. They weren't like a team on the fringes. And let's be honest, if Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson don't get hurt, the Golden State Warriors would have won the finals that year. So that trade didn't swing a title. Kevin Durant's Achilles erupting is what swung that title. So that's maybe why the NBA trade deadline lacks a little bit of spice, because teams realize that, if you're not good enough right now, you're probably not going to be good enough based on whatever it is that you can acquire at the deadline. Most of the contenders, like the Timberwolves, were pretty quiet. The Nuggets were quiet, didn't do anything. Boston went and got a backup center, Xavier Tillman, from the Grizzlies. The real heavies didn't do a whole lot today, and I don't think that's by mistake. Continuing with our 580 Sports Talk headlines here on 580 Sports Talk. Do you golf much, Spencer? You golf? I think we've asked you this, but are you much of a golfer?
I am in some free time. I have done charity tournaments, but I'm not very good. I do have an announcement. We do have CJ. Do we need to take a break, or do we?
No,
okay.
we don't. No, we don't. We'll launch right into it right now.
Here he is, right here. He's up.
He's on the phone with us. CJ Moore from The Athletic joining us for our Big 12 breakdown. CJ.
I apologize.
Wonderful to have you.
About that.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
No
I'll
problem at
tell you
all,
guys about it
CJ.
another day, but I had an interview that was going too well that I couldn't cut off, and they were in another country. So.
No. Hey, I respect that. No problem at all. We're glad to have you. We're glad you made some time for us. CJ Moore writes about college basketball for The Athletic. You can find him on Twitter at CJ Moore Hoops, and he joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for an impromptu Big 12 breakdown. I'll start here, CJ. K-State beat KU on Monday night at Bramlage Coliseum. It was a game K-State had to have. Did they do anything in that game? Did you see anything from them in that game that suggests that that game can be a jumping off point for them down the stretch in the Big 12?
I mean, I think the confidence that win would give you. I think defensively all season they've been pretty good, and they're good enough defensively to be a NCAA tournament type team. I think where they've been searching is for offense. So the fact that, Tyler Perry hit some huge shots and just the plays they made offensively that were pretty clutch in the moment, I think have to give them confidence going forward that, hopefully you can replicate that if you could do it against Kansas. So obviously it was a big win for their resume, but I'm sure confidence-wise as well, that'll, put some in the bank.
Perry had 21 of his 26 points in the second half and overtime of that game. And we talk a lot about what he isn't or what he doesn't do. He's not a natural true point guard. And K-State has really lacked that natural playmaker this year. But what are some ways that Kansas State can get Perry going, particularly early in games where he seems to struggle in those first 20 minutes, given that he's got the ball in his hands so often? Do they need to take the ball out of his hands more often, maybe earlier in games, to get him in a rhythm? Or what are some things that you think K-State can do to really unlock Perry?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to try to get him playing off the ball. I mean, that was the vision for them coming into the year. It's why they went out and got the kid from Samford, and I'm going to blank on his name. You guys can help me out,
Glover.
maybe. Glover. Like that's why they went out and got that kid, because Tyler's never been a guy that plays on the ball. At North Texas, he was at his best, kind of playing basically the two, even though he's point guard size, and they were smart at North Texas to pair him with a very big point guard who on the defensive end could take the twos and he could guard the point guards, but on the offensive end he could play that two role. And I do think, figuring out, maybe you entrust Cam Carter more on the ball and try to get Tyler, coming off screens and stuff like that, because he's such a great catch and shoot shooter. And, you just have to generate space for him. And sometimes, it's harder in the Big 12 to generate space for yourself just off the bat. So any ways they can get him into space and getting some shots where he has, it's not all on him to generate it, I think is a good thing.
CJ Moore of The Athletic is our guest, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for our Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. As for KU coming out of that game, CJ, I don't know that necessarily we learned anything new about them. We kind of know that if they don't get much from that fifth starting spot, they're vulnerable. And Johnny Furphy, after playing great in the win over Houston, didn't really give him a whole lot on Monday night. And that was a reason why KU ended up falling in overtime. What do they need to do on the road better? What have been the things that have really particularly been lacking for this KU team away from home? Because if they want to win a Big 12 championship, they're going to have to win another road game or two.
Yeah, they certainly will. I think that just, offensively, they haven't been the same. They actually, West Virginia and Iowa State, I thought they played decent offensively. And, those games, they didn't guard as well. But one thing, the UCF game and the K-State game, just their offense kind of went to crap, I think. And, it's a team that really, I think, isn't as gifted defensively as some of self-pass teams, just because they're lacking in depth. I don't think those guys can bring the intensity on the defensive end every single possession. And so, it's a team that has to win a little bit more with their offense. So when they're not making shots, that's tough. And so, going forward, I really think for them to consistently win, they basically need either Johnny Furphy or McCullough to be on that night. And if they're both off, then that's a problem. And obviously now teams are going to guard Johnny differently and really, stay with him. He'll probably get kind of the Grady Dick treatment that Grady got last year. And, there's still ways for him to be effective just by being out there and space, providing space for everybody else. But it is, they're going to have to find new ways, just like for Tyler Perry and K-State, they're going to have to find new ways to generate him shots, because the defensive attention is going to be a little bit different now that he had the run of games he had.
Let's take a look around the Big 12 with CJ Moore here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on our Big 12 breakdown. Looking toward the bottom of the league, Texas went to the Elite Eight last year. They hired their interim coach, Rodney Perry, for the full-time job. They came into this year as a top 25 team. They're 4-6 in the league and 15-8 overall right now. Why hasn't it clicked for the Longhorns this season?
They're just talent-wise, they aren't nearly as good as they were a year ago. You know, and I Rodney Terry is a really nice guy, and I thought he did a really nice job last year. But if you look back through his past head coaching jobs, you know, he's never had a ton of success. And I understand why they hired him, and you know what he did such a good job last year. But you know, this league is hard, and like the coaching, like Calvin Sampson said in the Big 12 Media Day, you look around, there's a bunch of pit bulls, right? You're not going up against any little foo-foo dogs in the Big 12. So I just think talent-wise, they're not nearly as good as they were a year ago. And you know, it's not like they're gonna you can scheme your way to wins necessarily in this league. I actually, you know, to be honest with you, lately, like they've been a little bit better than I thought they'd be. I almost thought the record might be even a little worse. But the league's tough, man. Like BYU was one of the hottest teams in the country coming into the Big 12 race. You know, they were, I think, heck, they're still 11 at KenPom, but they were top 10 at KenPom coming into the Big 12. They're 4-5. So this league's I mean, Oklahoma State's really the only bye game, I guess you could say, and they even, you know, they got K-State the other day.
Which team, if there's a team in maybe the bottom half or bottom third of the league, like right now we're about halfway through the year, Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, all 4-5, Texas, West Virginia, each have 6 losses. Of that group of teams, do you see one that might be a much tougher out and get better in the second half and maybe even make a run at an NCAA tournament berth?
Well, I think BYU's numbers are so strong there and still in a pretty good position to make the NCAA tournament. And I think where they've run into problems in the Big 12 is the level of athleticism and speed is something that they're not used to coming from the WCC. So as they get more used to that, I could see them getting a little hotter and you know, maybe going on a little run. We'll see. Cincinnati is the other team that I think has a shot. Those two teams, I think, would be the most likely to like get hot, maybe go on a run. But BYU, I think, you know, as long as they stay close to 500 in league play, that's a team that's going to be in the NCAA tournament and will be a tough out just because of the way they shoot the ball, and probably be, you know, they'll be happy to get to the NCAA tournament because they no longer have to see Big 12 defenses.
What would have to happen for K-State to go to Provo on Saturday and beat that BYU team? Is it just going to have to be a kind of a make or miss game where K-State gets hot and BYU kind of struggles, or is there another path to victory for K-State in that one?
I think defensively, they really, really, really have to be on point and, you know, try to run BYU off the line, try to take their threes away best they can. You know, BYU, there was one point this year there where they had made they'd made double-digit threes in almost all their games. So if you can keep them under you know 10 threes made, you've got a chance, because that's really where they you know, are so strong. Like Oklahoma, for instance, just held them to 8 for 26 from 3. If you can do that, you got a good chance to beat those guys. But if they're getting over 10 threes, it's going to be tough. So really, it's going to be about the defensive end, K-State, you know, staying really locked in and doing a great job on their scout on that, and then hopefully, you know, score enough points to be able to pull it off.
CJ Moore covers college basketball for theathletic.com. You can find him on Twitter at CJ Moore Hoops, and you can hear him on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on Thursdays for our Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. CJ, we could talk hoops with you forever, but we got Mitch Holthus coming up next, talk a little Super Bowl. So we appreciate you coming on with us, being able to make some time for us here on this Thursday. Thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Hey, apologies. I owe you guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, CJ. We appreciate you. That is CJ Moore of The Athletic. Again, his work is essential. If you want to know ball, That's a guy you read. CJ Moore knows ball, and his insight on the Big 12, on KU, K-State, on anybody in the country is worth reading at theathletic.com. We're going to take a big break here in the middle of the program. We're going to come back with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us next on this edition of 580 Sports Talk Live from the Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta here on 580 WIBW. Welcome back to 580 Sports Talk. It is 5:35 on this Thursday. Dan Lucero speaking with you from the Prairie Band Sportsbook. Less than a month old, but a great, great place to watch games. It's at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort, the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Let me try that in English. The Prairie Band Casino and Resort, north of Topeka in Mayetta. And this is the place to be to watch games and place your action on the big game coming up. We are joined via telephone from Las Vegas by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, who joins us every Thursday throughout the Chiefs season, thanks to our friends at Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee. And Mitch, you are now no stranger to these Super Bowl weeks. This is your 4th in 5 years, but this is the first one for you or for anyone in Las Vegas, Nevada. How, if in any way, has this been different from a circus standpoint, for lack of a better way to put it, for all of the extracurricular stuff that is not part of the game, just part of the week? How has this one been different than any other?
It honestly hasn't. We're so detached. We're 40 minutes from the strip where we're at. And, I mean, guys have had dinner opportunities to go on their own, but this has not been any different. It's still a deluge of media from all over the world. It feels like the Olympic Games sometimes. But honestly, of the COVID game in Super Bowl 55 doesn't count, but the other 3, this has been very similar. Even though it's in Vegas, the message given loud and clear, don't let Vegas get to you during the week. And Patrick Mahomes said it to the team. He goes, if we win, I'll bring you all back to Vegas, but this is a business trip. So everybody's been all business, and quite honestly, there has been so many discussions and exhortations. We're not permitted to gamble. I mean, we can't even walk into a sports book or a casino, really. We don't go to a casino, but you can't gamble. You could be immediately fired. I mean, that's the oddity of this, kind of the paradox of having a Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
It is remarkable to hear Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and other members of the Chiefs, but particularly the ones who have been a part of this team now through these Super Bowl runs, to say that they have a Super Bowl routine. That is quite a thing to have, and a little bit of a flex when you're talking about going to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years. What have you sensed that Super Bowl routine for this team to be when it comes to the day-by-day of going about not just the on-the-field stuff, but also handling the off-the-field things?
I alluded to the first part of that answer last week, where you've got to maximize the bye week. And I said you can't win the game during the Super Bowl bye week, but you can lose it. You have to take care of so many logistical matters, whether you're an individual or collectively as a team, and really throughout the whole organization. It's the most non-bye week that there is, but you have to take care of that. And the Chiefs organization is very good. The infrastructure is outstanding, both on the field and off the field. But then once you get here, from the first second you walk off the plane, and there's a big media entourage, and like on all social platforms, capturing that moment from the time where you complete the game, it can be very distracting. Media show up at our hotel. I mentioned, and actually San Francisco is not far from us at Lake Las Vegas, that the media comes every day to this locale, and there'll be hundreds of them. Crazy. But you can get swept away in all that. You can also get swept away in the opening night, which is crazy in and of itself. There's just so much going on all the time. You've got to stay maintaining your focus on football. And that's where Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and the fact that this is an experienced team in Super Bowls, that's not what Pat said was not to be arrogant. I know it sounds like a flex, but it wasn't. It's a matter of if Detroit was here, they would be wondering every day, what are we supposed to do right now? And the Chiefs have been in this game for 4 times in 5 years. They know what Thursday means, Friday means of game week, and what Saturday means as we get closer to kickoff.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us courtesy our friends at Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get into the game, Mitch. Super Bowl 58. They are eventually going to stop the circus. The press conferences will cease, and we're going to play a football game on Sunday night between a team that has obviously been to now 4 of these in 5 years, and a team that was pretty much start to finish the best team in the NFC this year. Looking at this, first at the opponent, the 49ers, What stands out to you as the most impressive thing about them, the thing that makes them the most difficult matchup for the Chiefs, the thing that if the Chiefs end up raising another Lombardi, it will be because they were able to neutralize a thing that is very difficult in one way or another to neutralize?
San Francisco is by far the most efficient offensive team in the National Football League. Their yards per attempt on plays is the best in 40 seasons in the league. They're the best in first down efficiency, second down efficiency, fourth in third down. And here's one of your biggest nuggets of the night. I know you'll ask me for one. Here's one before you ask. Brock Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco, and many fans that listen to you guys know about him already playing in the Big 12. He is the first quarterback in NFL history to be in the top 5 in passing yards and 20th or less in passing attempts. So think about that. A gob of yards, less than normal attempts, and that's the efficiency I'm talking about. Here's another one. They're the first team in NFL history with a running back, Christian McCaffrey, a tight end, George Kittle, 2 wide receivers, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, with 1,000-plus scrimmage yards in a single season. It's never happened in the history of the NFL. So they are incredibly efficient and maximize plays better than any team in this league on offense.
Of those 4 outstanding skill players, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel at wide receiver, and George Kittle at tight end, which player would you expect to be the one that the 49ers maybe try and emphasize the most in their game plan? And which player do you think it is most important for the Chiefs to try and limit? Obviously, the answer is all 4, but if there's one player who you feel like, boy, if he has a monster game, that is not good news for the Chiefs, who would that player be?
Christian McCaffrey, just because of the amount of touches that he touches the ball. You know, leading the league in rushing this year was impressive, but it's just his overall touches. When you look in just in the regular season, his stats were eye-popping. He's only the second player in NFL history to be able to get the triple crown in rushes, touches, and touchdowns. Only Jim Brown could say the same, and he's done it twice. McCaffrey with Carolina and with this year's San Francisco team. But 339 touches for McCaffrey for 2,023 yards. That's where it starts. So that diamond of players that I mentioned, then if McCaffrey's running roughshod and he also can catch the ball, you've got a runner who can catch it. And then you got Deebo Samuel, who's a catcher who can run it. That poses problems. But to answer your question, it is Christian McCaffrey.
And Mitch, kind of to go off that, the last few weeks you've been saying every single time you join us about the big triangle for the Chiefs, obviously in Pacheco, Kelce, and Rashee Rice. But you mentioned McCaffrey. The 49ers essentially have their own triangle in McCaffrey, Samuel, and Kittle.
And then throw in Ayuk, who's been highly productive. But yes, they do. And what you want your triangle to be a running back, a tight end, and a wide receiver. You don't want it to be 3 wide receivers, because even then, as powerful as that can be, you can scheme defenses. It's very difficult to scheme a defense to shut down San Francisco's triangle +1, or the Chiefs triangle, which has now had 1,100 yards in this 5-game winning streak going back to the win over Cincinnati. And then in the playoffs with the 23 catches that Kelce's got, which leads the league in the postseason, and Rashee Rice isn't far behind with his 20 catches. And then Pacheco, who, if he gets 75 all-purpose yards in this game, he'll be 3rd in NFL in postseason history with the number of consecutive games where he's had the 25-plus yards. And the only 2 that are would be Terrell Davis and Emmitt Smith ahead of him. So that puts Pacheco. So this discussion, you bring up a good point. The discussion I'm giving you to answer the question of what do the Chiefs have to mitigate is the same question really the 49ers have to answer, because the Chiefs have a triangle that, at least in the playoffs, has been equally as effective.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, courtesy Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee here on this Thursday edition of the show. Mitch joining us from Las Vegas as the Chiefs prepare to play the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 58. Offensively for the Chiefs, what in your mind is the biggest factor that could allow the Chiefs to have success against this 49er defense that has been one of the best in the league throughout the season, but hasn't quite played to that standard in the postseason?
Well, the overall answer would include what Matt McMullen and I just did a Defending the Kingdom that we'll post very soon about fixing it to the finish line. And that is what the Chiefs have fixed on this playoff run, which has been very difficult, minus 28 wind chill game against Miami, and then to win at Buffalo and at Baltimore. Those are as impressive back-to-back road wins as we've seen in this league in a long time. How did they do it? It was cleaning up the drops. Led the league in the NFL in the regular season, only 3 in the postseason, and 2 of those 3 were by Kelce in the minus 28-degree wind chill game. Only 1 drop in the 2 games at Buffalo and at Baltimore, impressive. Only 10 penalties in the playoffs after having 20 holding calls against them offensively in the regular season. And then thirdly, where the Chiefs were minus 11 in the giveaway takeaway, they're plus 2 in the playoffs. And Patrick Mahomes has set a record in the number of touches he's had without turning the ball over. So it's been incredibly impressive. But those are the 3 things you have to do. Stay ahead of the chains. That's a penalty. Be careful with the football. Still attack, but don't turn it over because San Francisco's defense lives off turnovers, very similar to Baltimore. And then make sure you stay ahead of the chains and catch the football, which the Chiefs have been doing throughout this playoff run.
Is this as well? I mean, it's tough to judge because this is the first time the Chiefs have ever won 3 games on their way to the Super Bowl instead of just winning 2 on their way to a Super Bowl. So that's obviously there's an extra game included in the sample size here. But do you feel like all around this is as well as the Chiefs have performed in a postseason leading up to the Super Bowl? When you look at the relatively clean games that they've played, the fact that they have been out penalized by their opponents. They've won the turnover margin in the 3 games. They're not dropping the passes that they did early on in the season. Does it feel like this Chiefs team goes in playing their best football for this group and maybe some of the best football they've played in a playoff run?
You know, if I agreed with you, I'm tempted to agree with you, but I think it would be recency bias. If we line them up against the Super Bowl 54 champion and the Super Bowl 57 champion. And quite honestly, this team more resembles the Super Bowl 4 champion than any of the other 2 middle ones, just because of what that Super Bowl 4 championship team did with 6 Pro Football Hall of Famers on defense and an efficient quarterback in Len Dawson who didn't turn it over, and then to win 2 road games, one in brutally cold weather against the Jets, then to beat the Raiders on the road, who had pummeled them 30 days prior, and then to beat Minnesota in the playoffs. That team looks like the characteristics of this team in 2023 into the 24 playoffs. But honestly, for me to say this is better or worse than any of those other 3 Super Bowl champions, I think I just couldn't make that point. They're all different, and they all would be their best. There's best in each of the 4 teams that I can mention, but none that would stand clearly above the other 3.
Hey, Mitch, we saw over the last weekend, that Jerick McKinnon was able to start practicing again, was limited yesterday. If he's able to play, what kind of role do you see him playing for the Chiefs this weekend in the Super Bowl?
Well, he's been awesome in the playoffs. When you look at him, he's a great protector. And if he was able to play, he would take the place of LaMichael Pirine, who's actually done a very good job in his stead for McKinnon. But if Jerick plays in this game, his role wouldn't change from when he's been in here before. Remember, he had the slide down at the 1-yard line, the most unselfish play maybe in NFL history in the Super Bowl. But he's such a weapon in the receiving game, running circles and angles. And I just don't know how explosive he would be with this groin injury. I've talked to him a lot while he's been in this mode of trying to get back, and it's presumptuous to say he would play. If he plays, then his role would be very impactful as a protector, the personal protector on punt, which is easily overlooked, and then his ability as a receiver and to find the end zone. He really has a nose for the end zone in the playoffs.
All right, Mitch, as we wrap things up with you from Las Vegas, we've got to get your last nuggets of the night and maybe frame them in the context of if the Chiefs are able to raise that Lombardi trophy for a third time in 5 years, a third time in 4 years, and really cement themselves as the team of the decade and one of the all-time great NFL dynasties. What does it look like? How does it proceed? And what are the things that can get the Chiefs over that finish line one more time?
Well, we started the discussion of saying that the Chiefs have to limit the quick strike of San Francisco. They're so efficient. They love to play ahead. They're very much like Baltimore. They're going to get ahead of you and then just pick you to death. The Chiefs need to turn the tables like they did against Baltimore and against Buffalo, and truthfully against Miami, because Miami has the same characteristics. But here's your nugget of the night. The Chiefs have scored on the opening drive of each of their last 8 playoff games. So they've scored on their opening drive of each of the last 8 playoff games. That's the best in National Football League history. No other team, Patriots or anybody else, has a streak longer than 4. And the Chiefs have 8 consecutive games where they scored on their first possession. That is paramount in this game, to play ahead of the 49ers, get the 49ers off the grid. I'll give you another one. I mentioned Purdy being so efficient, but his margin is razor thin. Without an interception this year, Purdy is 11-0. With just 1 interception, his record is 3-4. In close games decided by 3 points or less in the regular season, there were 3 for the 49ers. They lost all 3. And they were 1-5 in games decided by 8 points or less. Now, in the playoffs, they've rallied to win 2 close games by 3 points or less. So give them credit for that. But if you get them off the grid, you get them off a very slight margin, you have a chance, if you're the Chiefs, to do exactly what they did to Buffalo and Baltimore, and that is dictate turns to the game and make San Francisco react to the Chiefs, not vice versa.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's joined us Thursdays throughout the Chiefs season, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, enjoy the calm left before the storm and enjoy the call of a 4th Super Bowl in 5 years, and hopefully there's another Lombardi on that flight back from Vegas.
That would be amazing. It's just beyond any comprehension or imagination would put together as a little kid who grew up with being a Chiefs fan. So if that happens, it will be truly historic.
Well, we certainly hope it does. Thanks for the time, Mitch. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
That is Mitch Holthus. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word next. All right, we got just over a minute left for a final word on this edition of the show. Spencer, you go first.
What a great show. I'm a little jealous I wasn't able to get down there, Prairie Band Sportsbook, but there's always next time, March Madness. So hopefully things go that way. If I was there, or if I thought about it, I would have given you cash to make some bets for me, but unfortunately, I didn't think about that until just now. So I'm gonna have to go down myself.
What do you want? I'm
gonna have to go down there myself
you
before the Super Bowl. So that's my final word. Also, NFL Honors is tonight. There's not a lot going on Thursday besides American East Thursday, but NFL Honors tonight.
That's true. NFL Honors, we'll find out who wins the MVP. It will not be Dak Prescott or Christian McCaffrey. And those betting slips I have are already in the trash because it's going to be Lamar Jackson. Boy, yeah, that was silly of me. Not my finest gambling hour, jumping on those MVP bandwagons when it was clear it was going to be Lamar all along. Final word for me today. What if it really is just as simple on Sunday as one team having Patrick Mahomes and one team having Brock Purdy? Because sometimes it's not about which quarterback plays the best. It's about which quarterback makes the fewest mistakes. And Patrick Mahomes right now is so dialed in and has so mastered the quarterback position. I don't think he's going to make a mistake that will hurt his team on Sunday. And I think Brock Purdy just might. And maybe, just maybe, that's going to be all the difference. That's going to do it for 580 Sports Talk. Thank you again to Prairie Band Sportsbook for hosting us for today's program. We had a great time being here, and you would have a great time if you came to check them out tonight or any night at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. For Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 for a Super Bowl preview edition of 580 Sports Talk.